Echo 0, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysia 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hello and good night, everybody who is out here. Good morning, everybody who is somewhere on the other side of the world. Welcome to the stream tonight. MH370X, fall in. How are we doing, everybody? Guys, it is partially a celebration tonight, but it is obviously very somber at the same time. The reason being we are at war. We have war going on right now between Israel and Iran. The United States government is getting directly involved as well. So it's a pretty dark time in general. Now, on a different front, if you guys have been following my Twitter today, you will have seen that there's some pretty big revelations. Sorry, I'm trying to get this set up correctly here. Regarding the MH370 case, I have been able to show conclusively exactly how they warped the plane scientifically. So we are going to talk about that. We are going to look at some war videos as well. We're going to talk about war tonight, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll show you guys some of the insights to the science that we dug into that will prove that the MH370 videos are 100% real, including the zap, including the orbs, that we do have Star Trek level technology that is at our hands that will reshape the entire planet as we see fit. Okay, guys. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Let me just thank a few people I see in the chat. Honestly, guys, there's a lot of people already. CanCon's True Seeker, Sham6. Hey, Tally. Hey, Jim. Hey, Maddie. Hey, Bad Sama. Hey, Pamela. Hey, Heather. Good to see you. Aaron. Zach, Memory Hole 370, Mike, Perpsy, Sandy, good to see you, Skinny Bob. A lot of people that have been following for a very long time, and things are obviously starting to escalate. So let's just start with oh yeah, Matt, Vaughn, Phil. Oh wow, a lot more people. Chris, hey everybody, JG, JK Philly fan, good to see you guys. Langy, I can never say your name correctly. Welcome, Dan Clark, awesome. Good to see you guys. Okay, so where do we start tonight? Let's start with the fact that the Redacted podcast dropped. If you guys have not checked out the Redacted podcast, please go to Redacted on YouTube. You can find the link in my Twitter profile, or not, in my Twitter posts. And you will see that Redacted interview went live. It was done roughly 2 weeks ago. So the reason why you're not going to see the science mentioned in that video is because I didn't figure it out then. So it's, I haven't actually watched it myself yet. I will watch it later tonight. Apparently it's pretty good. I'm not surprised because I had a great time talking to Clayton, asking him as well. I don't know if it made the cut, but I did ask him about the Tucker Carlson interaction in terms of what disclosure means for him and for Tucker in general. And I tried to go through the strongest evidence, all the evidence out there that really showed that those videos were accurate, including potentially finding the leaker as well. Edward C. Lynn. So I just wanted to start with that. Make sure you check out that podcast. Make that thing blow up. Make it get huge. That podcast will show the truth of what happened to the plane to everybody out there. Also, cheers, everyone, tonight. Cheers. So let's dig right into the MH370 stuff, and then we will take a look at the war in Iran, in Israel, between Iran and Israel, and what the implications of that are. So, firstly, the MH370. Just to give you guys a quick background, and I may have to close this. Give me 1 second, everybody. I'll be right back. Okay, apologies. Had a window open and it's very loud. So, okay, we're back. So when this started, I started digging into the videos, and I did not know much about the science. I'm not an electrical engineer or anything like that. But I did know a little bit about physics, double slit experiment, and some other scientific concepts. I had learned recently about superconductivity. And this is where I had speculated that we needed to understand superconductivity. We needed to understand the double slit experiments in order to understand the MH370 videos to be real. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the videos on the screen real quick so that we can look at this together. And so you guys can understand where I'm coming from in terms of my rationale. Now, I also want to just put some disclaimers out there. I'm not an agent of any foreign government or anything like that. I've seen some of these nut jobs out there claim that I'm some kind of agent and some kind of, like, I don't know, there's a lot of defamatory stuff that people say. All of it is categorically false. I'm just a normal guy that decided that we would not let these videos disappear because you can, I mean, in my opinion, you can just tell obviously they're real. But for a lot of people, these videos are too much for their minds to accept. And that's why they struggle with it. And that's why in their minds, they have to conclude that I'm somehow being deceptive, but I am not. These videos simply show what really happened to MH370, consistent with all the evidence, consistent with the fact that we never found the plane, et cetera, et cetera. The videos emerged in 2014. They're not from recently. Nobody sent me these videos. Everybody had equal access to them. Any one of you could have been me if you had just dug into them the way that I've dug into them. And when I first looked at these videos, I realized three things right away. And I realized these things intuitively. It's not that I have any special talent related to this. So first thing I realized was that when we watch these orbs coming in, they're defying gravity right away. This shows some type of anti-gravitational effect here, coming in way too quickly, as we see here. And the way that they go around the plane seem to be consistent with some type of AI mechanism or some kind of pre-programming. You can tell right away the way that they connect around the plane. This first orb can't quite find the plane and then immediately begins into a triangle formation when the second orb gets there. Like right now, you can tell they're already in a triangle formation without the third orb even being there yet. This is pretty telling. This is a really weird detail, which goes to show that these orbs are being controlled by AI. The other thing I realized is that you needed superconductivity, because when you guys look at the videos of LK99 that came out of Korea and China, you're going to see a rock floating suspended in air. So I shall just show that real quick, and then we'll come right back to this video because I want you guys to understand how I figured this out. So when you look at this, for example, you can just see a rock free floating. This is a rock, room temperature rock, floating over a magnet to the side of the magnet, completely ignoring gravity. And I said, wow, this must be related to anti-gravity. I mean, the thing is just ignoring. This is called flux spinning. It's called the Meissner effect. And I didn't know exactly what the interaction was at the time. Now we have a much better idea of what the interaction between superconductivity and the videos is. But these were already two of the three requirements. So we needed to understand we needed to understand superconductivity. We needed to understand AI and advanced computers. And back 10 years ago, nobody would have realized that AI is going to be as advanced as it is now. And 10 years ago, they already had this technology. So the third thing that we needed to understand was the double slit experiment. So we've got our orbs spinning around here. Early on, I had no idea what the significance of the pattern was. We had mapped it. We knew it was a sinusoidal pattern, a wave pattern. But now we can figure out that what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out exactly how big the zap has to be to zap the plane. and to create the exact right energy densities around the plane in order to induce the event that we see right here. Now you're going to see the orbs slow down right there. That's where they are orienting themselves. And then within the blink of an eye, the plane gets zapped there. This is not video game effects. Any of the debunkers that are trying to tell you this is video game effects are wrong. They're just wrong. I don't think they're necessarily lying, but they are wrong. Devos, wow, huge donation, man. Thank you very much for that. Greatly appreciated. Big fire, Devos. Thank you very much. Huge donation. Wow. I appreciate it. I don't want you guys going crazy with donations tonight, but thank you very much. That's super nice of you. So they're mapping the plane. Now, this double slit experiment, the reason why I had figured out that the double slit experiment was important is because in the double slit experiment, we see the wave function breaking down. So when you look at the double slit experiment, when we measure which hole the electron or the photon goes through, the wave function breaks down, the pattern breaks down. I had correctly deduced from the beginning that this is the opposite of that, is that this is the rebuilding of the wave function. Now, I didn't know how that was happening, but I could just tell, because when you think about the wave function breaking down, you go from a probabilistic point, the wave function, to a deterministic one. And this also leads us to the idea of non-locality and quantum teleportation, which when you look at these videos, if you've deduced teleportation, that's what's happening here, then it makes sense that this must be the same thing happening on a large scale. So now that we've seen that, then scientists started reaching out to me. Salvatore Pais, and I'll play the second video while I'm talking through this. Salvatore Pais, Roy D. Herbert, physicist. I ended up getting connected to Dave Rossi, who's a DoD contractor, via the Alien Scientist podcast. I watched him. The story of Dave Rossi is incredible because I listened to Dave Rossi talking about some scientific concepts on that panel. And I said, I need to talk to that guy. He clearly knows what he's talking about. And he was probably the best connection I could have made because he was willing to speak freely about what he knew. He was the one who had led me on to the idea of macroscopic phase conjugation. But being honest with you guys, he didn't explain everything to me. He just said macroscopic phase conjugation, look into it. And I started pinging ideas off of him. And it took probably 6 months. So at that point, what did I decide? After I started my podcast, I started interviewing scientists. And I'll go ahead and play the slow-mo as well. Oh, I also realized that these are balls of plasma that we're seeing. This is an energy field around the orbs here. And this is stuff before I even knew how the science worked. And then I said, I'm going to learn electrical engineering. I'm going to teach myself electrical engineering to the point where hopefully I can figure this out myself so that I can explain it logically and intuitively. And if you guys have been watching along for the last couple of weeks, we've been watching Thomas Bearden. He's a lieutenant colonel who passed away a couple of years ago that was also an engineer with the government, potentially a third-party contractor engineer as well. And he has got multiple videos out there showing scalar physics. And right away, when I started looking at scalar physics, I realized this must be connected to what's happening to the plane. There's also direct connection between scalar physics and macroscopic phase conjugation. And so I started looking into that as well. Now, over the last couple of weeks, you guys have probably watched me look into this idea of scalar interferometry, crossing the streams. And this is what's led to, in the last few days and the last week, looking into a lot of science around interferometry, wave mixing interferometry, scalar physics, and the implications of what scalar physics can accomplish. Now, finally today, what was the real kicker missing link? I was using Grok, actually, to help me understand the difference between optical phase conjugation, which we showed last night on stream, where we saw an image rebuild itself while it was being covered by a shot glass, and macroscopic phase conjugation. And what that led to was a Twitter post. And I saw on a Twitter post where it basically put all the pieces together for me. And so I immediately was like, whoa, this is explaining it. It was basically the equivalent of Dave, who told me about macroscopic phase conjugation, telling me all the different aspects and questions that I had about how it was going to work together. Also, thank you, everyone else who's been jumping in, who's watching right now. If you're on YouTube, please hit the like button or whatever, or feel free to subscribe. I appreciate it. If you're on X, consider coming over to YouTube and checking it out, or you can watch on X as well. Thank you for being here. So now I'm going to go through the post. So let me go ahead and share, and I'll show you guys some of the science of how I got there. So you can verify 100% that what I'm telling you is verifiable information. It is not me coming up with this. It is not pseudoscience. It's actual science supported by actual scientific papers. This is potentially one of the greatest discoveries, you could argue, in the history of man. I just happen to think it's probably one of the greatest discoveries, in the last 100 years or so. And this is not, it's not that I've discovered this science. It's been out there. It's a matter of having these videos available to us, where the videos tell us the true story of what happened to the plane. We would never probably been able to prove this without these videos and without them being 100% scientifically accurate. And of course, it's not just about the videos, but it's also about the fact that the evidence around the case adds up to the videos being real. And that's just really what happened to the plane. It adds up to an espionage scenario. So what we're going to do here right now is I'm going to read through the macroscopic phase conjugation. I will read through the espionage scenario, and I will give my updates based on what we discovered in the last few days. And feel free to share this information, talk about this information. That's the only way it gets out there. I will answer questions in the chat after I've read out the stuff. And then we're going to take a look at the war in Israel and Iran in terms of what's going on there and what the implications are in general. Okay. So macroscopic phase conjugation, how we warped MH370. Okay. I can now scientifically explain what the United States did to MH370 as seen in 2 videos captured by U.S. military assets and leaked to the public. By the way, Edward C. Lin is the guy that leaked these videos. There's no doubt. These videos are scientifically accurate and show publicly unknown weapons capabilities. These weapon capabilities no one had any idea existed before this. It took me less than 6 months to understand at a rudimentary level. So from the scientific standpoint, I started learning this probably in November when I started to dig into the electrical engineering side and said I could probably do this. And as I got more time after I kind of retired from the case, I've had a lot more time to look into it. And you guys are on the cutting edge. Like, I literally wrote this up today where I was like, holy shit, I can explain it. Radar systems are not just detection mechanisms. They can also produce scalar potentials at a distance via phase conjugation, which is creating a perfect mirror image of the wave. So this is the trick. If you have a phase conjugate mirror, actually, when you point a wave at a mirror, it will bounce back at an angle. On a phase conjugate mirror, it will bounce back directly in the direction of travel of the wave. This is what allows for phase conjugation. It cancels out the waves. As Dave Rossi would say, the waves make love and they cancel out. Conventional physics would tell you that this means there's nothing left, but that's not true. That's because Oliver Heaviside rewrote the Maxwell equations and he got rid of the excess scalar potential that was left over. The old Maxwell equations take away the vectors, cancel out the vectors, but they leave the scalar potential left. Something that conventionally we're unable to measure, but you can be argued is essentially the stress in space-time itself, which is what can produce gravitational effects. Older systems split the beams, but newer ones create a complex wavefront by manipulating the phase relationship with the pulse and amplitude modification. So what does this mean? And if you watch the older, or actually really most of the scientific papers talk about splitting the beams and all this bouncing of the lasers that they do. Well, newer systems can do this just through like a single device, potentially something consistent with the coherent matter wave beam patent from Lockheed Martin. It probably uses another component as well, but the idea is you don't have to have a complex laboratory setup to do this. You can do this in a single device to create these types of beams. So we've been able to miniaturize it. We've gotten a lot better at creating these scalar effects through tiny, small radars, potentially something that can fit inside the size of our orbs that we have. Phase conjugation can work with any wave through any medium. This is huge because this means you can do this with sound waves, electromagnetic waves, or in this case, you can do this with gravitational waves. Why is this important? Because we need to move a macro-sized object, a 777. We need a gravitational wave. That's what we need to be able to produce. Scalar potential can create a gravitational wave. So what we're talking about here is the ability to manipulate gravity. Time reversed effects of phase conjugation do not go back in time. Now, I want to make a disclaimer here. I've actually been talking to the scientists, including Dave Rossi, and they would argue that there may be a way where you can actually go back in time related to this. I'm skeptical still. I think it's still a debatable aspect. But from what I read, time reverse doesn't necessarily mean you're going back in time. But I guess from that localized perspective, you could argue that it is a reversal of time itself. There is some science out there that says like that electrons are moving forward in time and positrons are moving backwards in time. More to come on that part. But instead, what it's really doing is creating a wave front that is reversed back to its origin. A wave front that's reversing back to its origin location. So you can already start to get an idea of where we're coming from with this and where this is going to lead to. This is why there's a fourth orb not seen in the videos. Because it's going to be shooting a wave at our plane, and then there's going to be a reversal wave that's going directly back to the location of the fourth orb. That's the location where the plane is going to go. Macroscopic phase conjugation is fundamentally equivalent to rebuilding the wave function in the double slit experiment because time and space are intermingled. Now, this is where it gets kind of confusing because the plane is not necessarily shrinking down or anything like that. It's creating like essentially equivalent of a bubble, a wormhole, a gravitational wave, and it's riding that wave like a surfboard. So fast and potentially through what you would consider an extra dimension so that we cannot see it. But it's still happening. The energy is being sucked out of one location and reappearing in another location. And when it reappears, it's going to reappear fully formed. It's not going to have people stuck in the walls or anything like that. It's just going to reappear fully formed. The orbs in the MH370 video are a type of hypersonic weapon encased in a plasma field that are creating a 0-point equilateral triangle mixed wave interferometry system focused on the plane. So what does this mean? So hypersonic in the sense that these are moving at hypersonic speeds. We can see the orbs in the MH370 video, the satellite one specifically, moving at roughly 2,000 or more miles per hour. Hypersonic. Encased in the plasma field, as we can see right down here, these are, you can even see the heat signature inside the orb. This is not a metal ball that we're seeing, maybe underneath, but there's a plasma field around it, displacing it potentially directly from space-time, which is what allows it to float. The 0-point system is important because when we get to scalar interferometry, you create crossing beams, but you're not limited to just two. When you have your pump beams, you need them to be at exactly in phase with one another. So you need the product of the wave functions to be 0. You are not limited to just being 2. You can have 3. If you have 3, then they need to be in a perfect 120-degree equilateral triangle formation so that when the waves focus in on the single point in the middle, the product of all 3 vectors is 0. Thomas Bearden showed this on a video that we looked at last night. He said they can be like this or they can be like this. And theoretically, they can even be in more shapes, but 3 is the minimum number you would need for a 3D object in 2D object in 3-dimensional space, a triangle to be formed. A doorway, if you want to think of it like that. The orbs act as the pump waves. So that's your perfectly in sync 0-point system, producing energy levels specific enough to only warp the area around the plane. This is why they're mapping the plane in a circle around the plane before they get into their ring formation, is that they are mapping it to figure out exactly how big that zap has to be that you saw here at the end. Because they don't want to make it too big. They want it to be just enough to get the plane and the area directly around the plane. Again, this is going to require very advanced computing systems to pull this off. When they are converging, they're amplifying their energy levels to such a large degree that they're breaking something that's called the Schwinger limit, which causes electromagnetic fields to become nonlinear. So for my layman out there, consider this as breaking through the fabric of space-time. Now, this is consistent with something called Coulomb's law. And again, I had to look all this stuff up. So if you're going out there going, how do you figure this out? Is he a genius? No, I just Googled it all. Every time I found a term I didn't understand, I looked what that term meant. Coulomb's law, if you look at the equation for Coulomb's law, the electrical force between multiple forces that are interacting is going to increase exponentially as the distance converges. This is exactly why these orbs are converging at the end. It is increasing the electrical force exponentially. So at that point, trying to get to whatever the Schwinger limit is, it's like 10 to the 33 or something like that, joules, or it's an energy density formula. Whatever it takes to get to that, as long as your starting orb energy densities are high enough, then increasing them exponentially is going to get you to the place that you need to be able to go. That's why this is important. Now, when this happens, this is producing our gravitational wave. Now, they're convincing, they're increasing energy densities, they're creating this non-linear electromagnetic field. This is what's producing the gravitational wave. And then the question is, where do you send the wave? How do you direct the wave? The fourth orb is the answer. When you look at scalar interferometry of multi-wave mixing, and we'll look at some images here in just a second, what you'll see is when you have your 0-point system, these are your pumps. These are the things that are pumping in to create the energy densities you need. Then you can send a beam at it from any direction, anywhere you want, and it will send a reversed beam directly at the source. So this is why your fourth orb is shooting a beam into this system that we see right here, and then it's going to reverse send the plane exactly wherever that fourth orb is. Now, people say, can it be anywhere? I'd say, yes, it can be anywhere. However, if I had to speculate, I think that it's most likely going backwards. And the reason for that is that in the final frame, right when the zap first begins, it looks like the plane has gone backwards a slight bit, right? Here. You can see the tail of the plane sticking out here. It's a little bit further back than it was in the frame right before this. So I'm speculating that the orb is pulling it backwards. The last orb is somewhere to the west based on the coordinates that we see in the satellite video. This is how we warp MH370. This is how we teleported this plane, for lack of a better term. Now, I think we should be scientific and specific about the terminology we use. So I'm not going to use the word teleport anymore. I'm going to use the word warp, because in my mind, it's consistent with warping space-time and rebuilding the wave function and having this go to a superluminal speed relativistically from our perspective on the outside looking at it. People ask me, how fast would this go? This can actually go faster than the speed of light. Why can it go faster than the speed of light? The speed of light is not actually constant. The speed of light is only constant and perceives to be constant because we are always seeing it through the same medium, space-time, the vacuum of space-time. If you point a laser beam through a glass of water, you will see a refraction. That same refraction is happening in our normal space-time as well. That's why it looks like the speed of light is constant to us. The same reason why, even though the same reason why time seems like it's flowing consistently for us is because we're all on the planet Earth. Therefore, we're all experiencing time flow at a similar rate. But if you were to strip away this, if I were to go to a black hole, I'm going to experience time at a different rate than you guys are going to experience time here. Same concept with light. If we were to strip away the fabric of reality and break through the Schwinger limit to the underlying ether or construct of our reality, the speed of light will go faster. Tesla said that he could get the speed of light going 50 times faster. Thomas Bearden said that he experimentally had the speed of light going 8 times faster. This is where you can get faster than light travel. Faster than light communication is through these same exact effects. So we're now actually deducing properties about our natural reality. Now, let me go ahead and show you some examples here. Now, let me see if this is a good one. This one's not one of the best ones to explain it, but it does show you the setup for your phase conjugate mirror, and you can see the wave function here as well. So when you are phase control is similar to recording interference patterns. Interference patterns are phase relationships in a complex wave. So this is where the link between the double slit experiment exists, is that holography and this interferometry that we see here is essentially the equivalent of rebuilding the wave function. That's what this screenshot right here shows. The intuitive explanation right here So this is probably the best one. I'll zoom it in a little bit for you guys. Did that just go to somewhere? Yeah, it did. Okay. So you see your pump beams. Notice the pump beams are 180 degrees out of phase here. So this is where you're creating your 0 point vector from this. Now you can do this with 3 beams. As long as they're in a perfect triangle formation, you would have the same thing happening. And then this is your phase conjugate beam, the probe beam. So the probe beam is where our 4th orb is sending the beam towards the interference pattern. And then you're going to get a reverse phase conjugate beam going directly at the source of the probe beam. This is our 4th orb. So we have 3 orbs here. And then we have our 4th orb shooting the beam, and then it's going back. Doesn't necessarily have to be an orb. It could also be some other object, but orb is the most likely thing because you need this plane to show up in the air somewhere. So most likely now I would also say this plane showed up in the air. You have your 4th orb somewhere in the air. And now this plane is going to teleport to where that 4th orb is in the air, probably somewhere near the Maldives based on the sightings that happened over there. We also have, and I'm going to post all this on my Twitter over the next few days, but there's this whole page talking about the physics of scalar waves as well as scalar wave interferometry. The best one here is this image in the bottom right, where you can see the interference zones that gets created. Now, it's something slightly different in terms of what we're doing with the plane is we're having a perfect 100. Instead of like you see, these are not perfectly in phase. So this is creating the interference zone. Ours are going to be exactly in phase with one another. And when they're perfectly in phase, now this is the point where you create the perfect scalar waves. Now, theoretically, these emitters here could potentially already be doing that. And so could our orbs, for example. Our orbs could be sending the scalar wave. All 3 of them could be sending scalar waves and then interfering them just like this. Okay. Now, let me see. What else do I have? Also, this paper here, broadband coherent wave control through photonic collisions and time interfaces. This is pretty hard to read. It's pretty deep on the language, but it basically says all the same things as well. And it even talks about the time aspect of the time reversed waves. So there's a bunch of scientific papers out there. I know nobody really likes the scientific papers. They get really tough to follow, but there's a lot out there. Okay. Are you guys still hearing me just fine? It looks like you are. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, this stuff is crazy. So as some people have pointed out, we're talking about science and videos that were out there in 2014. It's 2024 right now. So this is nuts. Like we've had this technology for at least a decade, maybe even longer than that. So now people want to know, what happened to the plane? And again, if you guys watch the Redacted podcast, you're probably going to get a lot of this in that Redacted podcast there. Real quick, what's my take on MH370? I don't have any reason to believe that MH370 was connected to this. The one thing I want you guys to realize is the way they keep this stuff hidden in secret is they throw other weird conspiracies out there to get people to latch onto them. Also, the whole idea that there were patent holders on board the plane and that it converted to the Rothschild group, that's also a big lie. None of those people were actually on the plane. That's a statement of fact. We checked. So you need to be careful about the fake conspiracy theories that they throw out there. They do that to get people to not pay attention to the real ones. So I don't know. I mean, I guess theoretically there's a world where somehow MH370 could be linked to this, but I have no reason to believe that it is at this point in time. A lot of people do ask that. It's a fine question to ask. But it's very important here when we are disseminating this type of information that we do so in a logical and rational way. Otherwise, people just say, oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist that believes the earth is flat. People always say that to me a lot. Okay. So I'm just going to look at some of the questions in the chat real quick before I read this as well. They said MH370 video is the only one we've seen with this technology. Have you discussed whether or not this is the first time it has been used? Problem is we have no idea. We would never have been able to figure this out without 2 videos. Honestly, I think we needed 2. Both videos from different perspectives, both leaked by U.S. military personnel of U.S. military assets, one of which we didn't even know was a system that existed, the Cyber system and the satellite system and how it works. We had to deduce how that system and video is even possible. So just to give you an idea of how difficult it was to figure this out, we had to have a literal mountain of evidence. And even now, even with all this evidence, you have a ton of people out there that absolutely under no circumstances can believe that it's real. And just so I want people to understand how, and I'll do some questions and we'll go back to that in a second. There are people out there that literally said that they will harm themselves before they will believe this is real. I just want you guys to understand that we are so far ahead of the game and so far ahead of the paradigm that people will harm themselves before they'll be ready to admit that this is real. So yes, these videos absolutely 100% literally break the minds of people and believe that they cannot be possible. And the reason for that is that it's so far beyond the paradigm of where public science is right now. Even though all these papers that we're going through are publicly available papers, nothing I've disseminated has been classified information, at least that I know of. It's all out there in the public purview, every single thing. So you can look at all of this yourself. Despite all that, this goes to show how far behind mainstream academia is. All the science influencers that you guys out there that think they know stuff, they're all idiots. Every single one of them. That doesn't mean there's not smart people. But when it comes to what we're actually capable of, they're complete idiots because they have access to all of these papers that I do too. There's no reason they couldn't figure it out themselves. So one of the first things I want you guys to take away from this is that any science influencer that you see on TV or whatever tell you about what's possible or what's not, they have no idea what they're talking about. I challenge any of them out there right now to prove me wrong. Any of them. Anyone you want. Pick your favorite. Tell them about these videos. Tell them about this stream. Tell them about me. Tell them to look at my work. Do their best to try to prove that this isn't possible. The reason why I say that is this science is 100% accurate, 100% confirmed by scientific papers and by scientists and engineers who've written patents, as well as ones that are actively working on as contractors for the Department of Defense and private contractors, just like Thomas Bearden. And Thomas Bearden was talking about it back in the 80s. Bong hits for Ashton. Please take an extra one for me. So part of the reason why I don't do drugs is because I have a security clearance, so I still have it somehow. The other reason is because I wouldn't want anyone to be able to discredit me by saying that I'm on drugs. I am categorically not on any drugs whatsoever. And I think that's very important. Although I do hope that one day that if I go on Joe Rogan and talk about this, I will absolutely smoke marijuanas, inject those into my veins with Joe Rogan, because I think that would be awesome. Okay, let's see. What other questions you guys have real quick? Oh, yes. Yeah, so also I want to point out about this science. Now, this science opens the door to a lot of magical stuff. I would say that warping an object macroscopically from one location to the other is pretty goddamn magical. But I would also say that causing stuff like earthquakes is theoretically possible. I don't know if it can like produce an earthquake on demand, but it can certainly amplify one or cause one that's about to occur. This is definitely directed energy weapons. I mean, directed energy weapons are like old technology compared to this. Like we've probably, based on what I've looked into, we've probably had directed energy weapons since the 80s. And I'm talking about shooting. And the thing is, this doesn't even require a laser beam. It's a beam that you're not even going to see that's going to create an explosion at a distance. And this is where you can either create energy at a distance, an explosion at a distance, and you're not creating it out of nothing. You are sending it from one location to another, just like what Eric Hecker mentioned with Antarctica. The idea that radar dishes are actually weapons. This is what everybody needs to understand. A radar dish is a weapon. It doesn't just detect information. You can actually send energy to a point. And if you cross the stream, so to speak, you can cause an explosion at a distance. This is actually what I think happened to MH370. I think we ignited those batteries on the plane. We made sure that the lithium-ion batteries would be on the plane. Then we hit them with a directed energy weapon. We caused the batteries to ignite. We caused the plane to divert. We maybe even remote controlled it at that point to the location here where we warped it out. I think everybody on board that plane was dead. I think that they probably succumbed to the toxic smoke or asphyxia from running out of oxygen because the oxygen mask didn't last long enough. There's some chance some of them survived. Like if there was people on board and it was some kind of operation and they gave them gas masks, maybe the Freescale semiconductor scientists survived, but that's just my opinion. It's looking pretty damn grim. So even though this stuff is possible, guys, I don't want everybody going off the deep end out there saying that every single thing that happens out there is due to this technology. It might be, but we just have to be very careful. So even though there are rabbit holes out there, even though we can technically warp an object, That doesn't mean every single thing out there is the fault or cause of a government, our government, or a foreign government, but it is possible. Okay. So also thank you guys really quick for being here. I appreciate it. Yeah, Mick West didn't kill himself. I don't know. Mick West is not looking really good right now, is what I'll say. So I'm also going to say something here as well that's not going to come off very friendly, but I do want people to know this, especially now that we've figured out the science 100%, and it will check out 100%. There are debunkers out there. This guy listed down here is one of them. And these people have been lying about these videos for months and months and months. And they've been claiming that they have 100% certainty that these videos are fake, and they could not have possibly known that. That is what is called a lie. That's a lie. When you don't know something and you pretend like you do, that is the definition of a lie. So to be clear, assuming these videos are real, which I think at this point we can say with near 100% certainty that they are. I mean, the science checks out, every aspect of them checks out. It would take a really weird story for someone to have faked these, given all the information, given the fact that I just figured the science out. And as far as I know, there's nobody else on Earth talking about this. There's essentially no way they can be fake. So if you are lying about these videos and you have been lying about these videos, like this person down here, I would stop lying about the videos. Now, I would also say you should probably start apologizing about lying about the videos because, again, and I've said this multiple times, with AARO, they are the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, has the ability to verify these videos if they're real. They have the clearances. I've talked to them. I am going to confirm that I'm talking to a real person. I don't have any reason to believe that I was not. They gave me their rank. They gave me their name, etc. I am going to confirm that. If they come out and confirm these videos, then I am going to send the family members after every single person who's been lying about these videos, every single person that's been making YouTube videos lying about these videos. I am going to send the family members after you. I'm going to help them sue you for everything that you have. I have saved all your videos. I have been saving people's statements that they've been making, the false lies that they've been making about the videos when they could not have possibly known the videos were fake. I've been saving all of them. I will send the family members of the victims after you. I will use the Alex Jones precedent, the Alex Jones Sandy Hook case as precedent for why you should be sued for every single dime that you have. All of your money that you have should go to the family members of the victims because you helped cover up what happened to them and lied about the fate of their family members. Do not lie about these videos when you do not know that they are fake. That is the last warning. Don't pretend like you have not been warned. I know this message will get back to every single one of you debunkers. Okay. Now that we've gone through that little bit of not fun stuff to talk about, let's dig back into this. And once again, find your favorite scientist. You want to get Neil deGrasse Tyson? I will rip Neil deGrasse Tyson to shreds when it comes to the science. Pick your favorite science influencer that you want and have them going. You guys should look up when Bill Nye went on Larry King and got absolutely eviscerated. That is what I will do to your favorite science influencer on national television. Okay. Now let's go look at the story. And then let me see if there's any other questions that you guys have before I do that real quick. No, and I'm not going to be doing... Mick West and the debunkers have dodged every single debate with me. Mick West has dodged four debates with me. Podcasters tried to set it up. He cowered it out of every single one because he knew I would destroy him. That local 556 guy that is being talked about here, he was supposed to do one with Skyfire News where he was going to bring his scientists and I was going to bring mine. He cowered it out as well. Every single one of these debunkers are cowards and they are liars. Do not believe anything they say. Nothing you read on Reddit related to these videos is accurate. It has no credibility whatsoever. If you don't hear it from me, there is no credibility. I am the literal expert on these videos. Okay. Oh, thank you very much, JJ, for that donation. Appreciate you guys. And I appreciate the overwhelming support that I've been getting as well. There's a lot of people out there who have been supporting me and supporting this case and, you know, keeping me going on it. There's been several times where I wanted to stop just because of how crazy everything's been. If you guys don't know, Joe Rogan reached out to me at one point, but he was convinced by some of these debunkers that it wasn't real. He's wrong. The videos are 100% real. And Joe Rogan, out of all people, should not have fallen for it because CNN literally made him look like he's a sick person on national television, change the color of his face, and then they even had the AP post a debunk saying CNN didn't change it when they did, and his own subreddit hates him. So I mean, he should have been the last person to fall for this. But if Joe Rogan doesn't want to talk about it, that's on him, man. Okay, let me see. I'm looking through the questions right now. Okay, what is this question? Were the orbs within that cross beam, and was the beam following the plane? No, the orbs themselves are shooting the beams in this case. So we don't actually need a radar dishes on the ground. Now, you can probably use radar dishes on the ground, which is why the one in Antarctica is so scary. The one in Antarctica is 5,160 DOMs. Each one can do 2,000 volts, and they most likely have a capacitor there where they can charge up. Just like if you were playing like the old Command and Conquer games, it was like, like that. Literally like that. The orbs are something even more advanced than that, where you have it in a localized ball of energy that can produce these. Now, this is why the coherent matter wave beam patent by Lockheed Martin is so important. Go look it up. It's 10 microns in length, the size of a bacteria. This is what's called a transducer. It can convert energy from one type into another. This is a very important aspect of how we can create this type of technology within some floaty orbs, as we're going to call them. Over-the-horizon radar. This is another great point. Over-the-horizon radar now gets very scary, because now over-the-horizon radar is not just a detection mechanism, it's also potentially a weapon. So we can actually bounce the beams off the ionosphere further out than we want it to go. So we're not limited by a line of sight either. Now, granted, if you have some orbs that can do this, even better. And what we'll look at here after I read this next piece is we will go look at some of the shoot downs that have been happening in Israel. It is very possible that some type of scalar weapon is being used to shoot down missiles in Israel. And this is where we want to be looking at the war, because where does this technology come out? It comes out in wars. This is where you potentially don't want to use your super weapon, but you use like the stuff that's not quite the best as your super weapon, but still shows advanced technology. And scalar weapons, directed energy weapons will be getting used. They have been getting used, absolutely. We just don't know what we're looking for yet. Okay. I'm looking. This point about MH370, guys, I don't know about this decomposed body stuff, guys. I would not run with any of that, and I won't be, just a heads up. Okay. Why did they take the plane if not for the people? I think that they probably did take it for the people. But there is some there's a chance where, and I'm going to read this here next and we'll talk about it, but there's a chance here where they either accidentally killed the people when they didn't want to, or they killed the people but they also wanted to disappear the plane so that there was no evidence. Again, I can't claim to know stuff that's unknowable. That's the difference between me and the debunkers. The debunkers will say that they know for sure stuff is not real or whatever when they can't possibly know it. I will tell you what I can know and what the evidence shows, just like the fact that the science checks out 100%. But I'm not going to tell you unknowable information. I'm not going to pretend to know stuff that I don't know that's out there. I will give you my opinions. Okay. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else in here. The people on the plane must have been important. Yes, the 20 free-scale semiconductor scientists and engineers. I go into depth on this on the Redacted podcast, so check out the Redacted podcast if you want to know more about the motives and the people on board the plane. The 20 free-scale semiconductor employees, and I had already deduced these guys must be related to technology. Oh boy, are they. They actually are both related to radar technology and microchips. And that's what's needed to miniaturize this technology. Most likely, this is how we were able to miniaturize it to the point where we went from radar dishes to now where we just have floaty orbs that can pull it off. So they are definitely involved. AARO has not responded yet, but I did send them another email and I told them I can prove the science 100%. So I'm looking forward to talking to them. There's no way they can gaslight me. It's not possible. I know this is our technology. I know we've got it. I know this is secret technology. If they want to talk to me and have me stop talking about it, they need to come negotiate with me. Otherwise, I am going to continue to expose this, and I just don't care. I have no reason to stop exposing it unless they come and talk to me and tell me that, hey, that's our technology. Could you please stop talking about it? And then they can give me that ScarJo clone. Okay. Let me see what else we got here. Yeah, and if you guys know anyone like Alex Jones or Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, heck, even Bill Maher. Anyone? Roseanne, who wants to talk to me about this? Send them my way. I have all this information memorized at this point, except for the science, in which obviously I'm still trying to catch up on. But all the evidence. Somebody asked, like, am I reading off a teleprompter on the Clayton Morris interview? No, I'm not reading off a teleprompter. You guys, I've done 70 or 80 podcasts. I've got this stuff memorized, all the evidence memorized. It's a ton of evidence. Oh, yes, this just reminded me of something else as well. Okay, I want to do some shout outs real quick to some people. First of all, rest in peace, Amy Eskridge. Amy, we could not have got here without you. I know you're up there somewhere listening to us, watching us right now, as we prove that anti-gravity is real. Thank you very much. Thank you for your sacrifice and everything you did to get to the point where we are at right now. Your spirit is with us 100%. I mean that absolutely and sincerely. Secondly, Thomas Bearden. Thomas Bearden is also not with us. He also died 2 years ago. Thomas Bearden, without you, we would never be where we are at right now. Thomas Bearden is also an American hero that's been talking about this, or was talking about this 38 years ago, about the implications of this technology. Without those videos of him from 38 years ago and from the 90s and even early 2000s that we've been watching in the last couple of weeks, we would never have figured this out. These people that came before us, we owe everything to them. Thank you, Thomas Bearden, for being there. I know you're watching over us. I know you're our guardian angel right now. Thank you. The other person I want to thank is Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. Without Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn, there is absolutely no chance whatsoever we could ever be in the position that we are in right now, not even close. No one could ever believe these videos were real unless we had two videos, both from military assets in super high definition with classified systems that have previously unknown surveillance capabilities, with the coordinates in them, with the NROL 22 consistent with the SIBRS system. Without all this information, there would be no way we could have ever figured this out. There'd be no way anyone could have ever believed anything like this was possible. I would never have believed anything like this is possible without two videos, both of them leaked by Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. He's the guy. There's nobody else that fits the bill. Everything is consistent with him being the leaker. AARO will be able to confirm the videos are real. They will be able to confirm Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn is the leaker. Whether or not they lie about it or go quiet or try to gaslight me, I don't know. I can't say. But there's no way that there's any gaslighting is going to work at this point. We have too much evidence. We know exactly how the science works. It's essentially the equivalent of checkmate. So I want to thank those people. I also want to quickly thank the scientists and engineers who helped me and tutored me and told me, pushed me down the right path. I want to start with Roy D. Herbert. He was the first scientist to reach out to me on Twitter. You guys can find at Roy D. Herbert on Twitter. I suggest you follow him. Very intelligent man. Time dilation theory is a theory that he's proposed with Martin Gibson. My interview with Martin Gibson will be coming out in the next few days. It's just been delayed because of all the craziness that's been going on. But it has been recorded. Next scientist I want to thank is Dr. Salvatore Paez. Thank you very much, sir. You are a effing hero. Salvatore Paez, after I emailed him, reached out to me, wanted to do a podcast. He took great personal risk in talking to me. He talked to me so openly that I think he might even got in trouble. I don't know that for a fact. But he went quiet very quickly after my second interview with him. But without him, without his patents and understanding, he gave me so much understanding and so many avenues to go down scientifically from an electrical engineering point to learn about how the science works. I know he's seen stuff like these orbs. That's how he figured out those patents. That's the only possible way. He might have seen UFOs, like alien UFOs. I don't know. And again, I don't care about aliens. I mean, cool if they're real, cool if they're not. It's not really my thing. I just care about the technology. But what those patents that he has out there are real. Absolutely. You guys need to look into Salvatore Paez's patents. Thank you very much, sir. And to his daughter, Salvatore Paez has been attacked and people have tried to discredit him. Science or history will look back at Dr. Salvatore Paez as a hero and a pioneer in an age where nobody else was pushing information like that out there. And I want his daughter to know that he is also a hero as well. because of that, because apparently she would see a lot of the negative comments that were out there. The next person I want to thank is Bob Grenier, who is the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. You guys can find him on Twitter, find him on YouTube. He's been looking into low energy nuclear reactions. He has been looking into cold fusion. We do have the capability to produce over unity, the power of a sun in the palm of our hands. It's real. You guys can look into Malcolm Bendel's thunderstorm generator. It's real. And this same technology is similar to that as well. It's not the exact same thing, but it's somewhat similar. There's certain connections to it. Free energy is possible. It can be produced several different ways. Cold fusion is one of those ways. So without Bob Grenier explaining the science to us and reviewing the videos before I ever met him, we also would not be here. Now, there's other people I want to thank too, but the last one is potentially the most important one. My good friend and potentially best friend on the planet, Dave Rossi. I can't believe that I met Dave Rossi in this life. I feel like I have a spiritual connection to him. You can find him at Podcast Zed on Twitter. I strongly suggest you take a look at his Twitter account and his profile. He's got some pretty amazing things in there. He's the one that came up with the fourth orb. He is the one that told us about the terminology of macroscopic phase conjugation before I even knew what it meant. And that's how we got to the point we are now, where we can explain the science 100%. He is a DoD contractor. If anything were to happen to Dave or myself, then you would know that everything I'm saying here is real. Neither of us are suicidal. I know I've talked to him as recently as of today. So thank you, Dave Rossi, for everything that you've done to help out MH370. Thank you, Brother Dave. Thank you, Brother Bob. Thank you, Brother Sal, as well. Appreciate you guys. Okay. Now that we've done the awkward, cringy stuff, let's keep going. Now, the real story of MH370 espionage. And real quick, cheers, everybody. I'm going to lose my voice after tonight, I feel like. Yeah, also some other scientific concepts. If you're just interested in high science, look up supercavitation, look up hypersonics, look up plasma sheaths, look up sonoluminescence, star in a jar. Incredible stuff that is out there that's real. Okay, real story of MH370 espionage. I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious, by Albert Einstein. Why do I have this quote there? Because Albert Einstein was not even a PhD. He was just a guy that was searching for the truth. And that's the only thing that I am as well. I'm not comparing myself to Albert Einstein. I am not in his level. But I am somebody like you guys. I want you guys to realize that you can all do the same thing I'm doing about any topic that you are passionate about. You can be anything that you want in this world. That's what I want people to know. I am Ashton Forbes, and I've been a citizen journalist investigating the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 disappearance for 7 months. The group I started, MH370X, has dug up every piece of evidence, press conferences, and interviews going back 10 years. I've spoken to the original investigators in addition to scientists and engineers, some of which work for the military or as contractors for the Department of Defense. I would measure my knowledge of the case against anyone. And what I mean here is you can find literally any expert about MH370 you want on this earth, and I will be able to stack up with them. I might even know more than they know. That's how much we have found out about this over the last 7 or 8 months. That's how dedicated I have been to finding the answers to this case. I would even argue that some of the people in MH370X stack up with some of the best experts out there. The official story of MH370 is that no one knows what happened to the plane. I want to repeat that. The official story of MH370 is that no one knows what happened to the plane. There's a lot of theories out there. The official report, though, is that it just went missing. Make sure you understand that. But planes do not disappear in 2014. To find the truth, we had to take a fresh look at all of the evidence and only reject the satellite pings after 1840 UTC. This is the location where the videos happen. This is only logical because we did not find anything in the location that the pings indicated in the South Indian Ocean, and the debris that washed up in Africa is not consistent with a crash in the South Indian Ocean. I'm going to repeat that for the people out there. The debris that washed up in Africa, 3,000 miles away, is not consistent with a crash in the South Indian Ocean. That's how easy it's been to lie to the world. People didn't even do basic common sense and reasoning. When that debris washed up in 2015, a year after the plane went missing, Everyone went, wait a minute, what? I thought you said that it crashed in Australia. You can actually look up the tides, or no, the currents, sorry, in the South Indian Ocean. You will find that the currents go east, that debris should have washed up in Australia, and not one piece washed up in Australia. That is impossible if the plane crashed along the 7th arc where they says it did. Every single expert around MH370 that thinks that this was a suicidal pilot that crashed the plane in the South Indian Ocean is objectively wrong. I'm going to say that again. Every single supposed expert, every single YouTube video, and every single person that claims that they're an expert that knows what happened to MH370, they are all wrong. Sorry, them's the facts. The following story is supported by more evidence than any other story to date. Again, the following story is supported by more evidence than any story to date, some by magnitudes. And I say, this is from a letter to Ashton Forbes. If you guys want to listen to that, you can Google it. I talked about it on, I think, the Clayton Morris Redacted podcast today. I write this because I want the world to know that most of the trouble on Earth are created for political reasons. Now, this is important because the theory we're putting forth is an espionage story between United States of America and China. An early theory was hijacking. People used to think that early on this was a hijacking scenario, but no one took credit for the missing plane. And the scenario of hijacking was too sophisticated for a simple hijack in a post 9/11 world. 9/11, the story is that some guys with box cutters killed the pilots and crashed the planes into the towers within like 15 minutes. This is one where they like took it on a rogue route where nobody saw it for like over 8 hours. Instead, it was state-sponsored espionage. This explains how a cover story was developed. Espionage narrows down the possibilities to 3 major players: Russia, China, and the United States. Russia doesn't have the capability. And now I'm going to backtrack here a little bit. They might. I think the fall of the Soviet Union, most likely what happened is the United States leapfrogged them, especially when quantum computers came out. I think that the United States became much more advanced on scalar technology than Russia did. China, I think, has been catching up, but they're getting close as well. 10 years ago, it was a different story. Russia also would have been exposed by Western governments. Like, they would not have been able to keep this secret. If Russia did something to the plane, United States of America would have said Russia shot it down. They would have convinced the world that Russia was at fault. China had no motive because most of the people on board were Chinese. You could argue they were trying to do something to those Freescale semiconductor employees, but the thing that rules China out is that they hacked the Malaysian government the next day on March 9th, and they tried to find answers to what happened, including stealing the crisis meeting minute notes, as well as classified information about MH370, which there shouldn't have been classified information. China was trying to figure out what happened to the plane. They knew the plane didn't crash. They knew something weird was going on. They also ended up releasing satellite pictures later on, but we're going to get to that. It was the United States that took the plane. There's no chance they wouldn't have been tracking a Rogue 77 in a post 9/11 world. We found out about the SIBRs and SOSUS surveillance system, space-based infrared system. SOSUS is the acoustic system that was able to hear the Titan sub pop. The bases Diego Garcia and Pine Gap have the most sophisticated radar systems in the world. The over-the-horizon radar can see for thousands of miles. Both of those bases would have been able to track Malaysian Airlines from takeoff to supposed crashing. We know beyond any doubt that the United States government knows what happened to this plane, was tracking the plane. It's impossible for them not to have been. Simple as that. The United States government has the capability and means to cover it up while selling a phony story to the entire world's media. This is why they had fake experts going on CNN claiming that phones can still ring when they're off or they're submerged or at the bottom of the ocean. This is why they had CNN. There's this clip out there where a CNN guy gets super angry and claims there's no chance the plane could have ended at Diego Garcia, but doesn't give any reason for why at all. He's like viscerally angry when he talks about it. Like somebody who's like lying and is super defensive. It's very bizarre. I posted it on my Twitter a while ago. I may try to retweet it tomorrow. So the United States government's the only one that can do this. The implications of this are that the United States government controls all our media. They control all the Western media, which is very scary because they can convince the world of a suicidal pilot, of all kinds of nonsense. You should not believe a single thing that you see on TV. Thomas Bearden was talking about this on the stream we watched last night. Who's your daddy? This operation was a message to China. So why did they do it? They were sending a message. You could argue it's also a message to Russia, saying, look at what we can do. We can zap a plane out of the sky. You want to mess with us? We will send some orbs after you. We will zap your world leaders into dust. We will send them to the center of the earth. We will send them to the sky somewhere and then just drop them. I mean, this technology is really no limits. An operation like this would have required planning. It could not have been pulled off in just an hour or two. So early on, I thought maybe they just reacted to the plane being on fire, and then they're trying to save the plane. There's not enough time for that. The government doesn't work that fast. This would have had to have a planned operation with very specific intent. The SATCOM only pinged one satellite despite being in the range of two. MH371 is the return route from Beijing to Kuala Lumpur, and it actually pinged both satellites. Even when the plane was on the ground in Kuala Lumpur, it was pinging both satellites, and then suddenly it stopped. And from that point on until takeoff, until the plane went missing, until the plane supposedly went into the South Indian Ocean, it only pinged one satellite. Why? It was set up to do that. They hacked it, because that made it impossible for people to figure out where the plane went. This is why they were able to manipulate the satellite data so easily. Because if they had two satellite pings, they would have been able to triangulate the location. There'd been no doubt where the plane was. This was espionage from the get-go. Two fake passengers with stolen passports changed their appearance with an implausible story of flying to Beijing to get to Amsterdam. Flying to Beijing to get to Amsterdam from Kuala Lumpur? There's a direct flight to Amsterdam. Why, if you're on stolen passports, would you risk going through extra countries? And I want to point out now, some people as well are talking about some of the mainstream media, including the 60 Minutes Australia stuff. It's all garbage. All garbage. All of them are wrong. All this bullshit about some guy pulling up a wing, the bullshit about like Richard Godfrey and his whisper data, it's all horseshit. Conclusively fake horseshit. None of that's what happened to the plane. This is what actually happened. Deal with it. I don't give a crap. Anyway, the plane went dark at a weak point between radars. This also indicates that this was the exact time where they set the batteries on fire. All these factors point to espionage. Now, if they used a directed energy weapon to set the batteries on fire, it may have also started fire in some of the plastics on the plane. There would have been toxic smoke spewing throughout this plane. This is the part where right away, if people don't get their gas masks on, they're going to succumb to the toxic smoke. This is part of the reason why I think the people were probably dead. Also, when the pilot is battling the fire, they have to lower their altitude. This is consistent with the witnesses. Lower the altitude and depressurize the plane, because the fire extinguishing gas sucks the oxygen out of the plane. So you have to fly low so that people can have enough oxygen to be able to breathe, but you can't fly too low because you don't want to crash into the mountains. There are mountain ranges in Malaysia. We looked some of them up. They go up to 7,000 feet. So you've got to stay between 7,000 and 10,000 feet. That may seem like a lot, but at the middle of the night where you can't see anything, that's pretty damn scary. Lithium-ion batteries are dangerous, and there was 487 pounds of them, which managed to miss 2 security screenings that day and 2 unsafe pallets, which were placed in the forward cargo bay near the electronics bay. This was no accident. The United States used the fire event to divert the plane from the South China Sea to the rendezvous point. They were most likely, in my opinion, moving it away from China's satellites to make it harder for China to track the plane. South China Sea is much closer. The plane can be seen zigzagging on flight radar before it goes dark, indicating that the pilot panicked due to the fire. You can actually see it on flight radar moving like this. And so you can tell that the pilot did take manual control of the plane. They took it off manual control. You can see them moving it, and then they decide they're going to turn around and they're going to go to Penang. Mike McKay sees the plane on fire for a few seconds from an oil rig before the automatic fire suppression devices deploy and temporarily put it out. Fishermen in a boat see the plane flying low 10 minutes later, consistent with what the pilot would do to provide oxygen for the passengers in a fire scenario. Kate T saw the plane within minutes of the MH370 videos, flying low, descending, and glowing orange with dark smoke coming out of the back of it near the Nicobar Islands. That's the location. We see the coordinates in the satellite video. There's also the Mayday communication I'm going to talk about here in a second. MH370 did not lose communications because 777 pilot hears them 10 minutes after they went dark. The Malaysian Minister of Defense, admitted they knew the plane wasn't hostile, which is only possible with communication. There's no other way. China Times reported an intercepted Mayday at 2:43 a.m. That, in Malaysian time, that gets converted to 18:43 UTC. Within 3 minutes of the target time we think the videos happened, of the plane disintegrating and attempting an emergency landing. Guys, that's 3 corroborating sources. Real person witness, Chinese reported interception of a communication from the plane, and 2 videos that show smoke coming out of the back of the plane. I mean, that should have been smoking gun enough, but we also have coordinates that are on the satellite video, that the satellite video was released 9 days before the raw telemetry data was even out there. I don't know how anyone can even deny this. It gets just absolutely absurd. The Malaysian government hid the communications from the families and the public. There's also a record of this as well. They actually sued to try to get them to release classified information about the plane, and they wouldn't do it. When they released the supposed communications, they only released partial communications. That's the only logical conclusion. The defectors. I'm going to have another drink here. We're going hard here. I hope you guys are having a great night. Someone say Sam Tripoli. Yeah, also, if anyone wants to talk to me about the case, about the videos, or about the science, feel free to ping me on Twitter. I follow basically every big podcaster that's out there. Or you can reply to any of my recent posts, tag me in it, and I will follow you. We can DM, whatever. Many had correctly speculated that the 20 Freescale semiconductor engineers as being the motive. Actually, Joseph P. Farrell was the very first one, I think. And he had actually figured out that it was a message as well. He just did not realize the exact technology that was used. The company was tied to U.S. aerospace and defense. They were actually tied to serving RF power needs, which is presumably for radar. They were named 9 times in a National Security Agency report from 2005 on commercial emergence of room temperature superconductive microchips. Microchips like this are used in quantum computers and other advanced technology. This is the direct connection to the employees to the plane. Whoever controls this technology controls the world. We're either preventing them from going to China, or, you know, actually, that's at this point, that's what I think it has to be. 8 of the Freescale semiconductor employees were Chinese nationals and defecting with the intellectual property related to the technology on board the plane. Whoever controls its technology has military supremacy of the entire planet. 20 employees were sitting next to each other, and some even had their entire families with them. That is very weird for a 1-week trip across the country or across the world. The company put out a statement saying these were very important people. And this many people on one plane should have triggered a company policy, especially if they're sitting next to each other. It means they didn't buy their flights independently. It means that they were booked together. China watched the plane get phased out with their own satellites and showed the world on March 13th. They released 3 images which look like orbs around an object. This was not debris, and you can see the cumulus clouds in the images. The satellite images were a message to the United States: you win. They looked in the South Indian or South China Sea where it was reported that this was debris. There was nothing there. You guys can find those articles yourself. Collateral damage. It's unlikely that all the passengers survived the fire, depressurization, and macroscopic phase conjugation events. The goal would have been to retain the intellectual property from the engineers. The rest of the survivors would have had to be silenced through coercion or force. I think they probably didn't even make it to the plane landing. A lot of them probably already had died. And at that point, you're in a really precarious situation. Now, if you really want to press me, I'd say that anybody who lived probably went into witness protection in the United States. Their old lives are over. The French father who lost his wife and 2 children, Guillaume Watrellos, knows that the plane did not crash. He was told by an intelligence source called Mr. B, you guys can Google that too, that the Americans know exactly what happened to the plane and that 2 AWACS spy radar planes were in the area. Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn could have been on one of these planes. The nephew of the pilot was told, "I am very sorry for your uncle. They are collateral damage." What? The nephew of the pilot was told, "I'm very sorry for your uncle. They are collateral damage." That's 100% consistent with an espionage event. This statement only makes sense if it's an espionage event. The White House was calling Malaysia every day, not because they cared about Philip Wood, the only adult American passenger aboard the plane, but because they needed to set a narrative to do damage control. This is why Malaysia's response seemed ignorant when in reality, it was deceptive. This is also why the Malaysian Minister of Defense is like sweating his balls off while he's doing an interview, and he won't answer any basic questions because he's terrified he's going to get caught in a lie. He's a terrible liar. You guys can watch that interview with the Malaysian Minister of Defense. We watched it several times. You could just put it straight on Saturday Night Live with no edits, and people would be laughing their asses off. Diego Garcia, where did the plane go? The plane likely ended up in Diego Garcia, which is one of the only places to hide a plane of this size. A B-777 fire suppression device washed up in the Maldives weeks later, which meant that it had to be empty. These devices aren't going to float unless it's empty. 20 islanders on Huvaduvo saw the plane flying low and headed towards Diego Garcia military base to the south. 20 islanders. The Maldives device and witnesses were discredited and intentionally exclude from the search. Ask yourself, why would you intentionally exclude some islands that are in the Indian Ocean when you're saying that the plane went into the Indian Ocean? Because you don't want people looking in the right spot. You need people to go looking in the wrong spot in the South Indian Ocean, not over to the west by Diego Garcia. That's the last place you want people looking. That's how bad the cover-up was. You could argue this cover-up was really good. You could argue it was really bad. And I want to be clear at this point. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy. This is what actually happened in the plane. There's never been a conspiracy theory out there ever that had this much evidence going along with it. I wish there's been other ones, but this is like too much evidence. Lastly, a message and a black and white picture by Philip Wood, the American passenger, appeared on 4chan a week after the plane went missing, claiming he was being held prisoner, and it claimed that he was drugged. The EXIF data had coordinates indicating Diego Garcia. That's pretty damn weird. So this is where there's some hope that maybe somebody survived. Whoa, Shelly. Thank you very much for this donation, Shelly. Cheers for you not giving up. This is huge. You hammered the last nail in the coffin for all the debunkers. Seriously, this news changes history. Your work ethic is an example for all of us engaged in huge research projects. Much respect, Shelly. Thank you very much, Shelly. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who's been supporting it. And yes, I'm not going to hammer on the debunkers anymore. They've been given notice. We put them on notice. Don't lie about these videos. Don't pretend like you know these videos are fake when they're not. You've been told. I've refuted every single debunk that's out there. If you think I haven't, you need to go back through my work. Do not lie. I've told you what will happen if I see people publicly lying about the videos. I am going to send the families after you, 100%. The hero. Now, this is the, okay, we're almost to the last part. United States assets were in the area because the Cobra Gold and Cope Tiger exercises were going on between Thailand, Singapore, and the United States. Cope Tiger's theme that year was search and rescue. So, of course, they had the assets in the area. I actually FOIA'd the Navy, and I asked for a list of the assets that were part of that exercise. I didn't ask for the exact number. I went back and forth with them. So I hope I get some information back. So far, all my FOIAs have been rejected essentially, or given technical rejections that it's going to take forever. Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lin was recently assigned to the VPU-2 Wizard's secret spy plane squadron February of 2014. That's just weeks before the plane went missing, and began being investigated on April 2nd, 2014. That's just weeks after the plane disappeared, based on a quote from his lawyer. He was likely on one of those AWACS. His job would have been to relay information upper command. He was a lieutenant commander. This is only a Navy and Coast Guard rank. He was part of the Navy. They may have also been remote controlling the plane. There's been a lot of evidence that they can remote control planes as well. If you can teleport a plane, you better believe you can remote control a plane. United States government, warp a plane. United States government charged Lin with espionage, a potential life sentence, but later on had to admit there was no evidence he exchanged any information with anyone from China. This charge is consistent with the United States having conducted an espionage mission against China and fearing that Lin was a spy who leaked the videos to them. If China did this, and then Lin leaked these videos, he's not going to get espionage. They're going to be like, oh, yes, you leaked what China did. You were trying to show the world proof of that China did it. The only reason you would come down this hard on Lin is because we are the ones who took the plane, and he's revealing to the world that we took the plane. Instead, he just wanted the world to know the truth. which is why he removed sensitive information while leaving the coordinates that would prove the conspiracy. The military videos have had a lot of the sensitive information removed from them. It would have had to have been a military personnel who did that, somebody who was knowledgeable about the systems. He probably didn't even know that this was some crazy advanced technology, because that's how far beyond the paradigm it is. He probably just thought it was UFOs or aliens, and he thought it wasn't doing any harm. The telemetry data was not publicly available when the videos were published on YouTube. This is a statement of fact. The telemetry data was not published till May 28th, 2014. The video was published at the latest May 19th, 2014. Was the mythical hoaxer that didn't want to collect $150,000 also psychic? The story makes no sense for these videos to be faked. Where's the hoaxer? There isn't one. Lynn's lawyers argued that the classified information in question was available on the internet. How many smoking guns do you need, guys? They're charging a guy for life in prison over information that's available on the internet. What do you guys think could be that serious? It has to be the videos. It would have to be a super weapon that he's leaking to the world. It's completely inconsistent with how they've gone after other people, even for espionage. He was also caught with flight manifests that include search and rescue code names. What? Caught with flight manifests that include search and rescue code names? One of the actual articles about him has a picture of a P-8 Poseidon spy plane searching for MH370. What? Why? His appeal has penal codes consistent with classified information potentially being video evidence. We looked at the appeals. Penal codes are one of the possible things for the penal codes is video evidence. Even after he took the plea bargain, his sentence was still overtly harsh, getting 9 years for dissemination of classified information. Military members had to testify as to why what Lynn did was so damaging to the United States. The government was actually afraid that if they went to court with this, they would have to reveal what the classified information was. Why? Because it's those videos. And people will go, wait, those videos that are on the internet, those are real? How can those be real? That's the reason why the government didn't want to go to court with this. Lynn may have leaked the MH370 videos to his Taiwanese contacts, which then allowed them to reach the internet, at which point they could no longer be hidden. There was no getting them off the internet. Once they're on the internet, the internet's forever. The letter to me used broken English consistent with a non-native speaker from Asia, and Taiwan is an ally of the United States. So if somebody was out there sending that letter to me, telling me to keep looking, it probably was somebody from Taiwan that knew the answer, one of our allies against China. We have met the enemy and he is us. We're almost done here, guys. To summarize, the United States planned an operation as a message to China, who was attempting to steal intellectual property related to advanced technology. They set the batteries to burn at a specific point and divert the plane to a location where they would phase it out using the very technology China was hoping to gain. The plane was warped, I'm going to say, to an unknown location, probably near the Maldives based on the sightings, and then flown to Diego Garcia. The U.S. rigged the SATCOM and falsified fake evidence to convince the world the plane flew to the South Indian Ocean, where we never found anything. The only reason this plane was exposed is because of Edward C. Lynn, who made the sacrifice to show the world absolute proof and went to prison for it. The world is not black and white. It is shades of gray. The United States has technology that would change our entire civilization, a covert elite that are covering it up for their own reasons. I would argue that it's for socioeconomic reasons, as well as fear that we will destroy ourselves with this technology, and of course, military supremacy over the entire planet. If you want to expose the truth, talk about the MH370 videos and don't stop talking. That comes directly from the letter to Ashton Forbes. That's the answer, guys. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk about MH370. Okay, I'm going to just drink a little bit of water here. I'm going to look at some questions. If you guys have any questions, break them out here. And then we're going to look at some of the stuff about the war effort that's been going on. And then we'll wrap it up after that. And my Twitter is blowing up, and so is my phone. Things are going crazy right now, chat. I want to thank everybody out there as well. I want to give a big thanks to MH370X at the moment. I couldn't have done this without all of you guys. You guys know who you are that's out there. People have done a crazy amount of research. And that's the only way we've been able to dig up all this stuff out there. So I hope that if anything, this serves as an inspiration to other people who want to find the truth. And I want to quickly, before we dig into the war stuff, I want to talk to the UFO community. First of all, cheers again. The UFO community has basically treated me abysmally on both sides, from the believers and from the skeptics alike. The UFO community in general is a complete shit show. It's no surprise whatsoever that disclosure has never happened, that nobody's ever been able to find out anti-gravity or find out anything about aliens or anything like that. The amount of people that are actually doing investigations like this in the UFO community can be counted probably on one hand or less. It's almost none. Most people out there in the UFO community just want to bitch at each other and talk about what might happen and repackage old content that's out there and sell it to people. That's the truth about the UFO community that's out there. And the reason why these people have attacked me is because I came in and did something that none of them were able to do in their entire lives. Now, it doesn't mean there's not good people out there. There are some good people and honest people in the UFO community, and those guys and people know who they are, and I thank you in general. But you guys who have been doing the opposite, you know who you are as well. And it's on both sides again. The skeptics have fallen so far away from what they used to be in terms of trying to be rational, logical people, that they've actually become essentially the equivalent of like cultist believers. It's kind of like horseshoe theory, where the two sides meet at the top. Same thing in politics. Same thing happens in the UFO community in general. And I have given them months ago this information on a silver platter. I begged every single UFO disclosure advocate to look into this. None of them thought the videos were real. This goes to show how little credibility these people have. I'm not going to name names. I might, but I'm not, I don't think. But you guys know who the big, UFO celebrity type people are. These people do not even understand the implications of the very thing that they're trying to disclose. We are talking about free energy. We are talking about anti-gravitational technology. And we are talking about super weapons that make nuclear weapons look like little child's toys. This is what people in the UFO community need to wrap their brains around and start coming to terms with really quickly. Because that's what this is all about, folks. That's what real disclosure actually is. It's not about little green men. It's not about hovering little crafts that are out there. It's about what that technology means to the elite people who are in charge. So, if you are one of these people out there who's making documentaries or on Cosmic Time and putting videos out there, or doing MH370 documentaries where you don't come and talk to me, your credibility is zero. If you're one of these people that's been saying these videos are fake and you know who you are, your credibility is zero. My message to you guys would be that you should come out and apologize and say, maybe we were wrong about this Ashton guy. Maybe we should listen to him and talk to him. Because I've been a normal guy this whole time, willing to talk to anybody. The fact that none of these people are willing to talk to me says that you are the one with the major bias. And it makes me question whether or not you are actually trying to get disclosure at all. Because there's only two possibilities from the believer side. Either you're really not trying to get disclosure and you're pretending like you are, or you have your own biases about what disclosure means and it has to be aliens or whatever. And neither of those makes you look really good. I'm a rational, logical person where I had no biases about what these videos meant. And this is where simple conclusion of deduction and logic led us. Okay. Let's see if there's any questions out there, guys. Yeah, and also if you're one of the people that is talking, last thing, I don't care which side you're on, the believer or the skeptic side. If you're one of the people that was trying to talk to podcasters, saying that either the videos weren't real or you shouldn't talk to me, shame on you. You're a terrible human being. If you were somebody out there trying to reach out to podcasts or tell them not to talk to me, I had a lot of people do this, guys. A lot. They would tell me. Some people went out there and lied, said I stole information from them. What? I'm the guy talking about this. I'm the guy doing the research with MH370X. Unless you're at MH370X, it's impossible for me to stole information from you. These people are the scum of the earth. Never be somebody that's going out there trying to gatekeep other people, trying to tell somebody not to talk to somebody on podcast. The good podcasters that I talked to said, yes, I wouldn't listen to those people anyway. And if people said that to me, that I wanted to talk to you more. And a lot of them did. So ridiculous, guys. So again, if you're in the UFO community, I want you to look at all these celebrity UFO people out there with a huge grain of salt, especially the ones that have tried to gatekeep, cock block, or deny the evidence in front of them. None of these people ever looked at the evidence. None, not even one of the UFO celebrities ever reached out to me. Think about that. Not even one. I'm showing literally anti-gravitational technology and macroscopic phase conjugation can explain how an alien being could come from another planet and get here faster than the speed of light. And not a single one of these people that believe there are aliens here or whatever, not a single one of them reached out to me. Pretty damn weird, guys. And now we've proven it scientifically. So, okay, let's keep going. Oh, wait, there's a question here. If the U.S. knew that the people wouldn't survive, then why warp the plane? I don't think that they necessarily knew. It's possible that the people succumbed from the fire event and it might have been accidental. They weren't trying to kill them. It's hard to say. I also really just do not know if people can survive a macroscopic phase conjugation event. There are papers out there, excuse me, that you guys can find that show that wormhole technology is humanly traversable, that you could survive the G-forces of going through a wormhole. So when I look at those videos, I think it's theoretically possible someone could survive that event. It's more of the fire and the fact that the pilot would have to depressurize the plane to get people enough oxygen to breathe. Those are the things that I think would be really the limiting factors in people surviving. So, also, I do not know or care if aliens exist out there. I presume there must be life somewhere. Whether or not they're visiting us, I really don't give a crap. It doesn't change my life at all. But being able to teleport or warp objects absolutely changes my life, and so does free energy. So that's what I care about. I'm not hating on anybody who believes that stuff. That's totally fine. Everyone's free to believe whatever the heck they want. It's just not my thing. Everybody else, there's people out there, you believe the Nazca mummies are real or whatever. Yo, use this as inspiration, man. You can convince the world too. Also, a lot of people have talked about teleportation being real, including Daniel Sheehan. What's the other guy's name? Ben, the Forbidden Knowledge guy. I forget his name. Stephen Greer. A lot of people. And I think some of these people actually know for a fact that it's possible. They just didn't know it's called macroscopic phase conjugation and exactly how it works, the way that we were able to figure it out. So, okay, another question. Sorry, let's see here. Thanks for all you've uncovered in this investigation. What are your thoughts on the passengers' phones connecting? Yeah, so this is part of the reason why you can imagine even if the people were dead, they would have collected the phones, and then that's why the phones were still ringing. Because the phones weren't at the bottom of the ocean. Phones don't ring at the bottom of the ocean. Phones don't ring when they're off. Phones die within 15 minutes of being submerged in salt water. This was the craziest part where I couldn't believe people proved the phones were ringing. 19 family members signed a joint statement saying the phones were ringing for up to 4 days, begging people to look into it. They wouldn't look into it. CNN got a fake expert, completely fake expert, to go on CNN and lie to the world and say that phones can ring when they're off. And everybody just believed it. 19 family members. This is how much the media lies to people and how people just believe it at face value without even thinking about it logically. This is why I use the term CNN brain. Because people that think that CNN is telling them real information are just non-player characters, NPCs. People that can only read off a script, can only believe what they're told, can't even use basic common sense to come to their own conclusions about things. It's embarrassing. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, let's... Oh, Billy Carson. Yeah, Billy Carson. I think Billy Carson knows some of this stuff, but some of these people as well, like they claim it unknowable information. This is where you got to be skeptical. The difference between me and all these other people is that I'll tell you what I know, which is knowable information. I will speculate as to the rest, and I will let you know that. A lot of people out there are like, I know how the orbs work, and they're a defense mechanism that's protecting the planet. It's like, what? You can't know that. You're not in any kind of position to know that. So that's the part where like you really have to separate. And this is where people discredit themselves. They should just focus on what they actually know and then say when they're speculating. But of course, that doesn't sell books. That doesn't get people on your side. You know, plain old Hartle investigations are not exciting. Although in this case, it's super damn exciting. The pictures. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what this. We're going to do a few more questions here just because we got a lot of questions. What about those pictures of minimal debris found? So I already mentioned that the debris could literally not have washed up in Africa from Australia, and no debris washed from Australia. I think the debris, most likely scenario, plane lands in Diego Garcia, they dismantle the plane, and they throw some of the parts in the water. Alternatively, the plane was on fire. Some of the parts could have literally fell off the plane from the fire. I mean, guys, look at how much the planes are literally falling apart in the sky right now. The Boeing planes falling apart in the sky, including like a part of an engine that ripped off from a Southwest flight last week. Planes are falling apart left and right. So it's very possible the debris just fell off the plane. But I think the most likely scenario is they threw it in the water in Diego Garcia, and that's how it got to Africa. I think that it is part of it. What's been your favorite podcast? God, there's a lot of good ones. Clayton Morris was really good. The recent ones have all been awesome. Vetted was great. Talking to Professor Simon Holland was great. So Vetted, Professor Simon Holland, Alpha Warrior, Alex Jones, the Redacted podcast that I just did was awesome. Sonia Pultan was great. Higher Side Chats was fine, but he kind of asked me some weird questions that were like trying to figure out if I was some kind of spy. It was pretty bizarre. Investigate Earth guys are awesome. The Confessionals was the best in-person podcast. Tony Merkel's a great guy. His platform's been growing and he deserves it. Absolutely. So a lot of great ones that are out there, guys, that you guys can check out. Also, Zach Payne that had me on several times. Oh, and Matt Kim. Matt Kim, guys, if you don't know who Matt Kim is, follow him. He's one of my favorite people out there. I plan on doing another follow-up with Matt Kim. So there are going to be a few more podcasts coming out. And now there's a lot more people now that I've been talking about the science and people, understand that it's real. They want to talk to me about that as well. So I've got a lot more research to do so that I can really get as knowledgeable about the science as I am about the case of the plane. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, cell phones also only ring if they're in range of a cell phone tower, and there's no cell phone towers in the middle of the ocean, so that's awkward. Yeah, there's also a serial number. Unique serial plate was missing off the flaperon, so it's theoretically possible that the flaperon was from a different plane. But I actually just think it was from MH370. I'm one of the only people that thinks that the debris is actually from MH370, that has a theory that's not this pilot suicide nonsense. Okay, let's see. Oh, a Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch. That was awesome. Talking to him several times. Leak Project was really good as well. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, actually. Now that I think about it, guys, let me see if I can find the list. I want to make sure I'm not missing any big ones. Let's see. Yeah, those were great. I'm just looking to see what else there was. I mean, there's some other good ones as well, but I think that's pretty. Coast to Coast AM was really fun. I was talking Coast to Coast AM. Yeah, Elijah Schaefer was good. So was Clint from the Liberty Lockdown. Tim Pool was actually still pretty good, even though he was extremely skeptical about the videos. But that was really fun just to go on Tim Pool. I never would have thought that I'd be on a show like that before. Shout out to Chris Leto as well. He got a lot of feedback for talking to me. He talked to me twice. And I know he came on board where he thought those videos were real as well. People were actually blaming me for Chris Leto going on his sabbatical, let's call it. That's pretty dark to do, man. Don't do that either. That's pretty messed up. Oh, I also do think Obama is directly implicated in this, just for the record. I think this goes all the way up to the top up there. Yeah, I think that the president has to sign off on a plan like this, but that doesn't mean that Trump is without blame either. I actually think that the classified information that the FBI went after Trump that they said it was mementos. I have a feeling that one of them might have been about MH370. It actually kind of tracks. I don't have any proof, but it tracks. Let's see. Did the Malaysian Airlines actually confirm more than one unidentified object? I'm not sure what that means in general. There was actually a guy that was coming back around with some of the evidence of the plane, and he ended up like dying in mysterious circumstances as well. There was also one of the people from Immersat randomly died as well, had a heart attack. Might have got hit by a heart attack gun, hard to say. But there's been a lot of sketchy shit around some of these people. Okay. Is the plane still intact? No, they probably dismantled the plane. And this is part of the reason why they're never going to find this plane in the bottom of the ocean. At this point, it's too late to even crash it down there. There would be too much evidence that had been planted. The black boxes would tell the lie. This is why they're never going to find the plane. They're probably never going to search again because they know they weren't going to find anything. The Malaysian government knows that they're never going to find the plane. So this is just, again, how easy it's been to lie to people out there. It's really sad. Oh, the judge situation as well. So Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice of the United States, she was the one, before she was a Supreme Court Justice, that ruled against a civil case in the United States. Said it was like corventus non something or other, which basically means that it's not appropriate to be tried in the United States, which is a really weird judgment because Boeing is an American company. And one of the plaintiffs was Philip Wood's brothers. Thomas and James Wood. I looked up that case as well. So it's very bizarre that she just threw that out. I think that there's a very strong argument for why it should have been tried in the United States. It was the difference between the family members getting millions of dollars and getting $30,000 each. $30,000. This is part of the reason why I'm going to have the family members sue all the debunkers in addition to the United States government, because they deserve way more money. And all the people who've been lying about these videos and claiming they know that they're fake, those people deserve to have everything taken from them. Every single penny. They deserve to have their lives ruined like the family members had their lives ruined. So do not be one of these debunkers that is making false statements about the videos. And absolutely don't come make false statements about me. Okay, that's your warning. Okay, guys. You know what? We might just... Okay, I want to show a couple... Guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show a couple of videos from the war effort that's been going on. We'll talk briefly about that. Then I'll do a few more questions. Okay, and then we're going to close it out for tonight. So let's go. Okay, actually. So first video I want to show is this one that I posted earlier. This one, how do I do this? Let's do like this. Okay, so this video, I first incorrectly thought this was a hypersonic weapon. I don't think that any of Iran's weapons are hypersonic. Hypersonic weapons move extremely fast. The videos that I've seen out there look like conventional rockets. So I don't think that Iran is using hypersonics. This was actually shot down in high Earth or in like at super high altitude. This might have been shot down by a satellite. And this is really weird. You could also argue there's no laser beam or anything like this as well that we see here. This thing just blows up in high altitude. I think somebody said this might be as high as like 100 miles in the sky, which seems really high, but how long is 100 miles? 50,000 feet? No, that's possible. No, 500,000 feet? That's pretty damn high. I don't think it's that high. I'll have to double check some of that information. But two things about this. One, the pattern. This proves that all blast patterns look like MH370. People tried to argue that the VFX is a match and they moved all this stuff around. Those people are full of shit. It's not how any of that works. All blast patterns look like this. You could literally match this and say it's a perfect match because all blast patterns look like this. But the other part of this as well is that we've got some crazy advanced scalar weaponry technology. This is why we should be looking at the war effort, because during the war effort is when this technology starts to get deployed. Now, I don't think they're breaking out the orbs, because you can't show people anti-gravitational orbs. They're going to see it on TV and they're going to figure it out. So this is where you break out the weaponry, where it's like it's pretty awesome, but there's no physical evidence that you're going to be able to prove it. But this is the type of thing where a scalar weapon, an invisible scalar beam, could hit this, cause an exothermic reaction using scalar interferometry, and destroy, completely annihilate a weapon. This is why we're not afraid of nukes. So people wonder, like, there's also this other thing, and not just in ufology, but everywhere out there, where people think that we should be afraid of nuclear weapons. Guys, nuclear weapons are 80-year-old technology. We are not afraid of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons might be a liability. Our SIBRS system can see a missile launch within a fraction of a second, and we can shoot a scalar weapon at it and destroy it immediately. It's going to blow up wherever it gets launched from. Nuclear weapons are, in my opinion, are not only obsolete, but I think that they are a liability. So that's how scary some of this technology is out here. And we might even have satellites. Imagine you have these radar dishes on satellites that can create the interferometry from outer space to create forced energy at a distance. That is better than something on the ground, because you have way higher field of view from outer space than you do on the ground. But we also have over-the-horizon radar, which can bounce off the ionosphere. So this is what you guys should be keeping in mind. I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing like blue and green laser beams coming from outer space and going into outer space. I think this is not necessarily the exact same directed energy weapon technology. The scary part about the directed energy weapon technology is you're not going to see a laser beam. It's going to be literally invisible. And then you're just going to see the point, the interference zone is where you're going to see the explosion going off. It's just going to look like an explosion appears out of nowhere. This might be exactly what this is. By the way, this is not VFX. This is not CGI. This is a real video. It's a real video from Israel. You can see this is the AP. I think this is the Washington Post. I'm not sure. So there you go on that one. Pretty crazy. And again, now this is the last thing I'll say on this. We'll go on to the next video. Is that I don't know for a fact. Now, we've been seeing a lot of weird videos, and there's a lot of UFO videos that come out, and I don't post a lot of them. And the reason is because we're spoiled. We saw two of the best videos in human existence that prove anti-gravitational technology and warping capability that no one even knew was possible. So when you show me a little light moving around in the sky, I don't give a crap. That's nothing compared to the stuff that I know is possible. So it's nothing against some of these videos out there. There's a lot of really interesting videos, but it's like when you sleep with a really hot woman and then you got to go back to normal girls. I'm just kidding. Just joking, guys, everybody out there. But you get the point. Let's just say, let's put it in a better scenario, better context. It's like if you go out to a fine restaurant and you have a really good meal and then you go to McDonald's and you're like, yeah, I don't really want McDonald's, you know? So this isn't quite McDonald's. This is like going to Chili's. Like, okay, I'll go to Chili's. It's not bad. It's pretty cool, but it doesn't, it's not like getting that T-bone steak at Morton's or at Ruth's Chris or whatever. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to search for the other video. What was the other one? We're gonna look for Chuck. Now the other video that I've seen, and there's been quite a few that are out there. Also, guys, follow Chuck Costello. Calesto. I don't know why I keep calling him Costello. He doesn't really need my promotion. He's got 700,000 followers. And I feel like he's gained like 200,000 since I first ran into him and met him. Super, super cool guy. DMs me from time to time, shows me cool videos that he thinks I'm interested in. Oh, here's the other one. 5.4 million views. My God. See, I could have posted this for the clout. If I had posted this, it might have got like 1 million views, but I didn't post it because it's nothing compared to the stuff that we. Now this video, they claim that there's some triangle thing that shoots down this. I literally have no idea when I look at this. Somebody, where's the triangle thing? Does anyone see it? One sec. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see any triangle. Oh, there it is. Right there. Okay. So they were saying that this thing down here, there's 3 lights here that are just stationary in the sky. People are arguing that this is shooting stuff down. I don't know. I would argue that what's happening is that the scalar weapons are potentially intercepting these and shooting them out of the sky. The clip that I think looks cool, when I first saw this and I almost posted it, was this part right here, where you see that flash. Like, what is that? But then I looked at it again. I just thought, oh, it's just like the missiles going off and you can see the smoke trail. So even if it was something big, like they are shooting them down or whatever, this is not high enough definition compared to the MH370 videos, which is why those videos are so incredible. We're looking at the most advanced cameras from military assets, the highest quality footage we can possibly see in the MH370 videos. These videos they're interesting. We have some idea of what it is. It's probably like, people think it's a laser, but it's not really a laser, actually. They're using scalar interferometry. And the difference is we don't see the laser. If you actually saw a laser hitting it, then I would say it's laser technology. And both of them can be directed energy weapons. What the reason why the scalar interferometry works so well is that you can have no loss of energy at a distance. They can be 98% efficient. So no matter how far you're shooting it, it can still have a huge amount of energy get produced at a very large distance. This is why that's what you would use from a satellite. Because those satellites, even the low Earth orbit satellites, are 1,100 kilometers above the sky. So those are the closest ones, 1,100 kilometers away. The further ones out, the ones that are at geostationary orbit, are 40,000 kilometers away. Those are definitely not shooting. They're too far away to shoot a laser. They're probably too far away to even shoot a scalar weapon, but I can't say for sure. Okay. Whew. Okay. What is the other one? Now, I want to look at one other video. Does he show the one of the... Ooh, what's going on here? falling missiles, massive implications if concerned. Yeah, so missiles are getting shot out of the sky. What is the? Let me see. Hold on a sec. Let's switch over. I'm just gonna Google Israel missile. There was one other video where it was just cool. I mean, it's not cool. It's war. Oh, here it is. Of missiles just falling down from the sky here. Okay, so this one. There's no like. There's you guys can't hear this, but look at this. You can actually see some of the missiles striking, and these could be drones. It could be missiles. I mean, they could be kamikaze drones. We don't really know exactly, but you can see some of them get shot down. I think this one over here gets shot down. Yeah, this one over here on the right gets shot down, but some of them are hitting. So you can tell we can learn a lot about what the mechanism of war here is, where what they're trying to do is just bombard them with so many targets that they can't shoot them all down. So even with scalar weaponry, you're gonna be limited to how many targets you can track and how many you can take down at once. And so that's what Iran's strategy is here. Is hit them with so many targets that they can't stop them. This actually tells us a lot about the capabilities, because even with magical technology, it's not invincibility. It is supremacy of the planet, but it doesn't mean that you can take down every single missile that's out there. But with, like, a nuclear weapon, getting a nuclear weapon blown up on you is too much of a risk. So this actually gives us some framework for what we think the next level of war is gonna be. Now, this is Iran is like nothing compared to even Russia or China. So you can imagine if the United States or Russia or China were to do something like this, it's gonna be like the movie Fall or show Fallout and the video games Fallout. The whole cities are gonna be getting wiped out, like at the drop of the just like that. In fact, like a scalar weapon like this could potentially do more damage than a nuke. I don't really know exactly, but I imagine that we've got some extremely scary stuff out there, okay? So, real quick, I wanna talk about war as well for a second. Um, I don't see is there any other videos here? I think that's all the major ones that have come out today. There's a couple others that this one's also interesting. Let's look at this one. So this one as well, you can just see the missiles striking. This is crazy. Look, they're shooting you can see them hitting them out of the sky. This is scary because it goes to show you, like, they're not able to target them all. They're hitting as many as they can, as fast as they can, but some of them are just straight up striking. This is real war here, everybody. This is war in 2024. Very scary stuff. Okay. Um, Now I know tensions are high. If you guys have been following me today as well, you will know that there was some kind of lawyer or whatever. I'm not going to name names because I don't feel like the need to escalate it like that. But the people between that support Palestine and the people that support Israel hate one another with a passion, and they both think that the other side are terrorists. There are no winners and losers in war. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm categorically against war. I think that it can only lead to our annihilation. I think that with the type of technology that we've been talking about, it will absolutely lead to our annihilation. What I think that people should do is they should look at each other as humans. The clip that I want to reference is one that I saw on Joe Rogan, where somebody that was an adamant supporter of Israel said, yeah, well, we've killed tens of thousands of civilians, but it's because the Hamas people were hiding behind them. It's the only way. That's one of the most disgusting takes I've ever heard in my whole life. And they said, oh, well, when the United States attacked Iraq and Syria, they did the same thing. Yeah, and it was terrible then too. We shouldn't have been wiping out people just like broad scale because they're hiding within civilians. That's monstrous. So there is no excuse, period. If you are out there killing civilians and you're just justifying it because people are hiding amongst them and, well, there's no other way, to me, you're just justifying being a monster. Simple as that. Killing innocent people and justifying it, no matter how you do so, it's messed up. You're not the good guys in that scenario. I don't care who you are. I don't care what side you're on. But yes, there's no winners in war. I think that if you guys want to know about war, and we have two options, is what I want to say, is that either we can go to Star Trek world with this type of technology, or we can go to Fallout world with this technology. If you haven't seen the new show Fallout, I recommend it. It's kind of campy, but the reality is that could be our future in 2077. It's only 30, 40 years away from now. Or we can go to Star Trek, where we have some peace and we learn not to destroy ourselves and we become little I don't have a better way to say this, but just pussies, I guess is the right way to say it. You know? Pussies, warmongers. Total destruction of our planet. Maybe we become civilization that goes amongst the stars. That is what we have in our future. That's what our capabilities are for going forward. Okay. And I hope we're not going to Fallout, but you know what? I might post a poll later tonight and ask people if we want to go to the Fallout world with this technology or if we are going to end up in Star Trek world with this technology. To me, those are the two paradigms that we have out there. Okay, let's do some more questions, everybody. Shoot me whatever questions you want about the weapons, about the technology, or about MH370. Again, please watch the Redacted podcast. Make that podcast get huge so that people cannot ignore these videos any longer. Talk about the science, macroscopic phase conjugation. Check it out for yourselves. Make sure you're following me as well for more information. You've got my, is this one my YouTube? Yeah. And then you've got my Twitter account up here at JustXAshton on both of them. Also follow the scientists that I talked about as well as some of the podcasters that have been kind to us. And let's not try to attack other people out there as well. We know the science is real. We know the videos are real at this point. Doesn't really matter what the detractors think that come after us. So let's see what kind of questions we've got out there. And I'm going to have a quick drink while I look at this. So any and all questions that you guys have, this is the party and the determination of our future stream that we're in right now. Cheers. Also, real quick, I want to go back through the people who donated, just make sure I got everybody. Devos, thank you very much. Flint Fancy, thank you very much. JJ, thank you. And Shelly, thank you very much for those. I think they're called super chats. Thank you very much for that. I've never asked anybody for money related to this. It's not been the goal for any of this. Although who knows, maybe I will write a book considering how crazy this whole thing is at one point in the future, but that's not in the cards for right now. Where is your investigation leading and what's in store? I think that the investigation has pretty much run its course. I think that we figured out the science a lot quicker than I would have thought. But at this point now, I need to learn the science to a degree where it's just back of my hand. I want to know everything about it. I'm probably going to look into directed energy weapons and everything that Lockheed Martin has publicly that's out there. I'm going to post all the scientific papers that are out there as well around any of this stuff. I want to show and prove to the world not only is the science real, but it exists and it's been out there in scientific papers for maybe even over 100 years. That's how far back this goes. From the question of disclosure, how do we achieve disclosure? This is the question that I ask. If you are somebody that does podcasts and you interview UFO people, the question I want you to ask them is, what does disclosure mean to you and how do you achieve it? Because to me, disclosure isn't about aliens. It's not about flying saucers. It's about the technology. How do we achieve disclosure then? We prove the technology is real. We show people that the technology is real with scientific papers. Funny enough, the scientific papers get the least amount of engagement out of any of the stuff that I post out there because it goes over most people's heads. Most people just want to be told what it means, but you have to prove it with the science as well. And I've been digging through the past science, the historical science, and all the scientists that came before. And that's how I know this stuff is real out there, is that it's been supported by people like Ehrenhoff Bohm, Maxwell's equations, Eli Prigogine, even Victor Lochno talking about high temperature superconductivity, and then tons more. Jonathan Archibald Wheeler. All of these people have proven this type of science is out there. Planck, in terms of the Planck scale, quantum mechanics, and I'm just going to keep learning it to the point where nobody can deny it. Let's see what else we got. I have application of the videos. Sorry, I don't see that. What does this one say? When you're settling down with ScarJo clone, my man, hit up the dating sites with that new profile picture. Yeah, that new profile picture is fire. I saw that. Skyfire News posted it, and I hit up Heather Birdie, and I said, hey, can you give me that picture so I can make my new profile picture? It's pretty sweet. Rebel Alliance. Yeah, I guess you could argue that we might be good at Star Trek. What do I think of Bob Lazar? Good question. I think, here's the thing too, guys. I don't think a lot of these people are disinformation agents. I think that they are telling the truth. And I think that if you weave together the parts of their stories that are factual versus their opinions, you begin to realize that free energy is the answer to everything. Free energy is the answer to everything. It's the answer to why the government's covering it up. It's the answer to how you can achieve the types of technological advancements as well as the effects that we see, not just from anti-gravity, but from macroscopic phase conjugation. It does require a huge amount of energy. You have to tap into the ether, the extra dimension that's out there, give you free energy, capability of sucking energy from the environment. And so I think Bob Lazar was telling the truth. I don't know if he was fed some misinformation or disinformation. I think it's possible that element 115 is real and it could be a fuel source, but we don't even need it. We have an unlimited fuel source. It's called the ether. And that's how a lot of this is possible. That's how over unity is possible. And this is the part where I would probably diverge from the Bob Lazars of the world. The answer that I'm given is even better, is simpler. It's a more elegant solution. And it's one with far more implications. Free energy, if you just imagine having unlimited energy, you can create weapons that could even create a Big Bang. That's what we're talking about. So when you think about why people cover it up, it seems very obvious. I'll say the same thing that I said yesterday, is that one side potentially thinks we would destroy ourselves, and they're probably right. And that's probably why they want it hidden. The other side says, well, if we do destroy ourselves, it's on us. We haven't destroyed ourselves with nuclear weapons yet. Therefore, this information should come out and be public. I know there's warring factions within the government, some that want it out and some that don't want it out. Some of these disclosure advocates might be on the side of people that want it out, but they want it to come out in a controlled fashion. The other aspect of this is like Pandora's box. So you can't just pick and choose which aspects of this technology you get. You get all of it. The moment we unify quantum mechanics and general relativity, you get everything. You get the scalar weapons. You get the free energy. You get the directed energy weapons. You get the macroscopic phase conjugation. There's actually healing applications of this. You might be able to reverse cellular decay at the cellular level. You might be able to reverse viruses and diseases from the human body. That's how weird and crazy this technology gets. But the problem is once one of it comes out, all of it comes out at once. That's just how it works. So again, this is the reason why it's being held up, even though you could argue that they're keeping, medical healing answers from people. Were the orbs controlled on their own, or were they being controlled? They're most likely not conscious, I don't think, in this case. I don't think we're looking at conscious alien orbs, although the idea of conscious plasma is a very interesting one. This was an operation start to finish. You can tell from the drone, the way the drone is flying, how close it is to the plane, the way it zooms in, which would indicate that these orbs were controlled. They're either remote controlled or they're pre-programmed. Both of these, in my opinion, require quantum computers. That's just how advanced what we're seeing is. But maybe they could just use supercomputers on it. Have you heard of anything from the Malaysian Airlines other than employees or radar operators? Nope. Nothing at all. I think that they've all been silenced. I heard some rumors about some stuff, but nothing that was actionable. Let's see. Dr. Judy Wood, I'm not digging into 9/11 stuff. Not doing it. Guys, there's plenty of people that have dug into 9/11 stuff. Here's what I would say, too, about the 9/11 stuff, because I've been thinking about it a lot. It's probably the biggest question I get about, hey, do 9/11, do 9/11, talk about 9/11. Let's say that 9/11 was an inside job, as the theorists propose. So what? Then what? The government they would never admit that they took down their own towers. Never in a million years will they ever admit that under any circumstances, no matter what. So what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? We know our governments lie. We already know that. We already know that they lie. We need verifiable evidence and verifiable proof to do something which Ulrich brought to my attention, which is prove the lie. Prove that they're lying. That's what we did with MH370. We proved that they have detection systems and it's impossible for them to not know where the plane is. We don't have that with the 9/11 situation. So as much as we want to harp on it, as much as we're sure that there might have been something that went on there related to 9/11 that was not consistent with the narrative we've been told, there's nowhere to go forward with that. That's just the sad truth of the situation. And I'm not want to dissuade anybody from that. I hope that this information can help people on their own theories, but that's not going to be what I dig into, unfortunately. So I do appreciate the people though that are looking for answers, and I hope you are inspired to get the answers for your guys' own pet causes. Same thing with like the Nazca mummies. There's already people who are looking at Nazca mummies. I wish you guys the best. If you guys prove actionable information or stuff that I find is compelling, I'll probably retweet it for you, help you out a little bit, but it's not going to be my thing. Let's see. Northrop Grumman completed their manta ray. So they have some kind of underwater submersible. I do think this is very interesting about Artisan Tony. Artisan Tony's been following a lot as well. Cool guy. Make sure you guys follow him and his channel. People I find interesting podcast. The manta ray is, makes me wonder if we don't have submersible drone or plasma technology like this as well. So I think the USO stuff is potentially legit. Let's see what else we got. Where do scalar energy weapons get the source of their energy? So you can argue, like Eric Hecker has said, that the ones that are based off of like Antarctica, they can use capacitors to charge the energy up. But he says that the power requirements there were not enough for the radars that exist. So that he thought there must be an exotic form of energy. The answer is, for almost any of this, you need free energy. Cold fusion and or the ability to create energy from the vacuum, from the ether, from the underlying framework, an extra dimension. And even for macroscopic phase conjugation to work on a 777, we pretty much need that anyway. So that's how this stuff lines up together. We're going to get over unity. We're going to get warp technology. Everything's going to come out at once. We're going to learn that there is an extra dimension that goes all the way back to Tesla. Tesla had already speculated this was required, as well as Kaluza, who came out with one of the early unification theories in 1921, that there's an extra dimension. The extra dimension is what's called negative entropy. Think of it as just the canvas which we would paint on top of. And then when you rip into that, there's essentially unlimited energy, an unlimited oil well of energy that can come out of that. Unlimited energy, free energy. If it sounds incredible, well, welcome to Star Trek. You got Clayton to really open up at the end there and handle yourself like a pro. Outstanding work. Yeah, I asked him, guys, about the Tucker Carlson thing. Feel free to go ahead and clip that from the interview, because I wanted to know what he thought was so dark. He thought the abduction stuff was dark, and it is dark. Imagine somebody like a mercenary group that has this type of technology. They could do the stuff that Timothy Abarino talked to me about, where they could potentially abduct people with weird anti-gravitational suits and things like that. That is scary, man. That is dark. But you know what's even darker than that? Destroying the whole planet. Destroying the whole planet is super dark. And that's what I wanted Clayton to think about. That's what I want Tucker Carlson to think about, and everybody else out there, is why are they hiding this technology? Because they're afraid we're going to destroy ourselves. And in fact, I agree. We probably are. I actually literally think we probably are going to destroy ourselves with this technology. That's very dark. Especially, you don't want to talk to your children about that, because they're going to go, oh, I don't want the planet to get destroyed. This is so far beyond nuclear weapons, and people already freak out about nuclear weapons. If we have a weapon that you can't stop at all, that can destroy an entire city in just with a beam from outer space, from a satellite, pretty damn scary. Let's see. Yeah, hit that thumbs up, you degenerates. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good morning, Ash, all the way from Scotland, UK. Yeah, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you guys. Happy you haven't given up. Yes, we never gave up on MH370. The plan was to move to the science. The science just came at me much faster than I would have thought, which even surprised me. What do you think the attraction to flat Earth is, and why are critically thinking people falling for it? Guys, what I would say is I'm definitely not a flat earther. In fact, I would argue you have to have curvature for like any of this stuff to even make sense. But I'm going to still keep open-minded to everything. Like, maybe the thing about flat earth is that like people argue that, oh, you're dumb because you think the earth is flat, but like maybe it's a matter of thinking about the way that they're conceptualizing it. So even in the flat earth situation, I'm going to still be a little bit open-minded to it. I'm not going to, and also I'm not going to put people down because I don't care what people believe. If people want to believe the Earth's flat, so what? Go for it. That's fine. I don't care. There's people who are arguing with me that gravity's not real. Literally arguing with me that gravity's not real. I'm like, well, I mean, I think it's real, right? Like, I'm trying to look for something I can drop safely. Let's test. Yeah, I guess gravity's still real. Stuff still falls to the ground. Whether or not you want to call it gravity or how you describe it, that's a different thing. But that's what this all comes down to as well. Good question. Oh, have I looked into Terrence Howard? This is a good one. Yes, I looked and I watched a video about Terrence Howard, the actor Terrence Howard. And he's been talking about the flower of life. Here's the thing about sacred geometry is a lot of these people, they're looking for meaning of everything. They want to connect every single thing together. I would agree that geometry does play a crucial role, especially in phase conjugation. Remember, 0-point system. There's many different shapes that can produce a 0-point system. And the whole point is you need to negate the magnetic and electric potentials. But this does not mean every single thing in the world is connected. And this is where you have to draw the line. Now, maybe they are, but when you do that, it's just too easy to dismiss your theories. But obviously, consciousness, being, is also something that is a singularity. It's hard to describe. And so people are looking for an answer for linking consciousness to sacred geometry and to technology. You can do that if you want. My argument would be you want to build a foundation and work your way up one step at a time. Otherwise, you try to convince everybody of all this stuff, and they're just going to look at you like you're a kook. That's just the reality of it. But I do think Terrence Howard has probably had a revelation where he saw some stuff, and he's like, nah, there's something going on here. Free-ish energy. Yeah, free-ish energy. Let's see what else. Are the orbs shooting a beam at the plane or at each other? So I think at first what's happening is they're using their beams to fly forward. And then right before the zap, you can actually see the orbs slow down. Let me see if I have that video out there. Looks like my dog just came over here as well. Okay, yeah, I think I have it. Let me see. Oh no, crap. Hold on, guys. I'm not sure if I have it or not. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. I think I can show this one. Okay, so I have to find the second one, but this one's probably fine enough. Okay, so the orbs actually, you can see what happens is the orbs here in this video you can see their dark lines in front of them right here. It might be hard to see from your guys' video, but you can actually see the orb orientation change the moment the words come on the screen. Look at the heat signature disappear, and then all of a sudden the heat signature comes back very briefly right after. So the heat signature is gone right here. You can see the heat signature disappear. The orbs are reorienting to converge their beams, which this is a detail where there's no way anybody faked this. And now the orb, they come back out, and now you can see the heat signatures again, and they already begin to converge here, and then poof. So good question. They're doing both is the answer. And then in the satellite video, which I don't know where, I have it somewhere. I have so many videos. They're just not well organized. What's this one? Oh yeah. So the satellite video here, actually the orbs slow down right. This isn't really a great version of it, but right when these orbs get to where this cloud is, the orbs actually start to slow down. This coincides with the orbs reorienting as well. So pretty crazy detail in my opinion. We'll see what else we got here. Any last questions? Oh yeah, okay. So where did the technology come from? So this is a great question, actually. This is one of the big things that I've been asking is, did we come upon this ourselves? I think this could go as far back as the Philadelphia project in Project Rainbow in 1943, 2 years before we dropped the bomb. I think that we accidentally figured this technology out then when we were trying to cloak a battleship. Because when you look at phase conjugation, it's very similar to the idea of cloaking from radar. So it makes sense that this technology could go that far back. But you could also argue that we found that UFOs crashed, and that's how we figured it out. You could argue we dug them up, and we figured it out that way as well. The answer is I don't know. I really don't know. That's one of the big things that I want to know. So even if this is disclosure of anti-gravitational technology and warp technology, UFO stuff doesn't go away at all. There's still the big question of, are aliens out there? Are aliens visiting us? Where do we get this technology? And that's what I think is great about this, is it's actually not full disclosure. This does not prove aliens exist. We could have actually figured this out by ourselves, or we could have had help. I am of the opinion that we reverse engineered this, that somebody saw this, and I don't know how, but then that's how we figured it out. It just seems far too advanced. Even now, this is in 2024, this is so far beyond the paradigm. If you were to tell people we would be able to figure out warp drive, they would say that we're like 1,000 years away from that. That's how far beyond the paradigm this is. But it's not. We're going to have it soon. Let's see what else we got. Bob Lazar is a brilliant chemist. I think Bob Lazar is a very smart guy. I think he's an actual scientist that's intelligent. Does ether equal dark matter? I don't think so. I think that dark matter is complexity. I think that everything around us has gravity and it builds up. But the answer is I don't entirely know. But Roy D. Herbert would say, as complexity increases, you get more and more stickiness, aka gravity, and that can theoretically account for the extra missing dark energy, the extra missing matter that we don't see. That's my opinion. If you believe in electric universe, then I think that people would say that magnetism and electricity can account for the extra stickiness that we don't see that's out there. I'm personally not of the opinion that dark matter is an actual thing that you can measure, or like an actual thing you can hold in your hand. Oh, Shai Keenan's here. I just want a big shout out to Shai Keenan. She was one of the first VFX experts that would listen to me on Spaces and explain the difficulty of potentially making these videos. And she's a real VFX expert. So thank you very much, Shai Keenan. Everyone follow her on Twitter. For the next hard truths, interested in schmucks lined up. Martin Gibson is somebody that has a unification theory that I've interviewed, that I feel bad. I've been waiting for weeks because I've been doing so much other stuff and so busy, but I am going to try to get that pushed out tomorrow. I'm going to edit it. It's not very long, only about an hour. He also is friends with Roy D. Herbert, the physicist that I mentioned as well. They really bounce off one another in terms of their theories and ideas. And we had a really good talk about the idea of a soul and even how, like, some economic stuff in terms of how that plays into some of these physics theories. So look for that, hard truths. I'm also planning on talking to Tom Montauk, who is the person who the first YouTube video I found out about scalar physics. He's the one who explained it. And then I find him on Twitter. He comes into my Twitter replies and he was answering questions for people. He's a really cool guy, really smart guy. He definitely broaches on the esoteric. We might talk about some of the more esoteric concepts because I'm not afraid to dig into that. But I am more of a hard science kind of guy. But, I like talking to people about everything. But I am going to talk to him about scalar physics 100%. Okay, let me see what else we got. 5G healing. Yeah, so there is this idea. The funny thing is this whole, remember this 5G COVID conspiracy? The crazy part about scalar physics is Tom Bearden argues that you can actually spread a virus from one cell to another using this technology, but that you can also cure it using the same stuff. I'm not going down that. This is not medical, anything that I'm doing right now related to that, but it's kind of an interesting thought. Reverse aging. Yes, I do think reverse aging is possible. I still think Dave Rossi must be reverse aged because it's hard for me to believe he's so young and knows so much information. So if Dave is out there listening to this, he's probably laughing because that's my conspiracy theories. I think Dave's been reverse aged. Maybe he's Tom Bearden and he faked his death and he reversed his age or something like that. That would be pretty funny. But yeah, I do think that, and this is my opinion, I do think that reverse aging or extended aging, I think it's possible personally, and it wouldn't surprise me if some people that are very old right now that have been hanging on have been using it. I know for a fact elites know about stuff like over Unity, and they've been profiting off of it and utilizing it while the rest of the world's just been in the dark. Pretty bullshit, huh? That's our real world. Yeah, this is all pretty nuts, guys. It's the medbed stuff. It might be real. I might end up talking to Matt Rife as well, but I got to be very careful about going into medical stuff because I'm in the medical field, medical industry, at least as of now. And you guys know how people are with medical misinformation, disinformation. So I got to be very careful what I talk about related to that, even if it's just theoretical. Whew. Oh yeah, Bob Lazar also talked about. He's a very interesting case because Joe Rogan asked him about would you do it again, and he said no. And you know the reason why he said no? Because he got to work with magical technology every day, and then when he whistle blew on it, he never got to talk about it ever again. Never got to work on it ever again. This is why it's so easy to hide it. If you know about magical technology, you don't give a shit about what idiots on Reddit think about it. Right? You get to work with it. If they want to be in the dark and be morons and think that none of this is possible, so what? Let them. They're just basically like second-class citizens at that point. That's the part where I think it's kind of bullshit. That's why I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to tell the world about it. I don't give a crap. At least until the government comes and talks to me, which hopefully they will. Because I don't really enjoy revealing all of our super advanced technology to the world, but they never stop me. I think the truth is I think the government underestimated me. I think the government thought I would never figure it out. I think they would be able to discredit me, that they would be able to get the videos to go away by putting in some cloud picture out there that they probably fabricated. And in part, they were correct, but they underestimated that I would be able to figure out the science. They underestimated you guys as well in terms of following along and staying followed along and spreading this information. And now I think they're in big trouble because there's no hiding this anymore. There's no way ARO can gaslight me into thinking this is not real. So we'll see. Shane, good to see UFO Shane out there. Appreciate you. I'm not going to tell a big long story. Shane and I used to hate each other, but now we're cool again. Shane would say that this was full disclosure. Shane, I don't think it's full disclosure. I think that we still don't know about aliens, even if this stuff is real that's out there. But I would say that this pushes disclosure like decades, potentially. I don't think they were going to tell us about this anytime soon. Let's see. If electricity can cause cells to go back into stem cells, say, shouldn't we be able to do some amazing healing? Yes, again, amazing healing. Shane again. I'm opening spaces, full alien disclosure. And you're just here chilling. Yeah, well, we're gonna shut this down here in like 5 or 10 minutes. But when you have 4,100 people listening, you kind of got to keep going a little bit. We will do some more streams in the future, guys, as well. So make sure you're following me on Twitter, following me on my YouTube channel. We will be talking more about the science and the implications in the future. We will be having some pretty awesome streams and hard truths podcasts with people. And if there are people out there, there are people I would like to talk to. I'd like to talk to Tim Burchett. I would like to talk to Eric Burleson, the congressman, because I wanted them to understand the true implications of disclosure. They're still sitting out there thinking that we're going to find out about alien bodies and we're going to find out about UFO crafts. No, we need to figure out about Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and why radars can produce directed energy weapons and how the world has no idea. And that has no idea about scalar interferometry. Like, these are the things that people need to know about, stuff that nobody has any idea about. This stuff is like extremely important that people know about. Yeah, stay in my lane. Sorry, I'm probably really behind on messages here. I'm going to try to skip ahead some of these. And actually, I wish you guys the best of luck with 9/11 conspiracies and all the other conspiracies that are out there, guys. I'm not against any of that. I've got the most open mind of anybody. When you're talking about objects being able to be warped away, you don't really have the luxury of being able to tell other people that their stuff is silly. You want to believe Bigfoot's real? I'm not even going to hate on that. DARPA, I don't know about a lot of this DARPA stuff, but a lot of those DARPA projects are really interesting. I think that if we can warp objects, there's a lot of DARPA stuff that talked about this as well. People just ignored it, about the idea that you could warp an object, bend space-time. And it looks like it's actually real. So I would say we should probably look at those DARPA things with a little bit more seriousness, even the remote viewing stuff. Remote viewing is another one that I'm not going to dig into, but if this stuff is real and there is an extra dimension, it opens the door up to remote viewing for sure. Okay, let's see. Yes, I did a podcast with Redacted. Go check it out. There's a link on one of my most recent Twitter posts, or go check Redacted's page. It went live. Actually, it went live the exact same time I dropped the thing about the science. And I didn't know. Clayton didn't even message me. People in my Discord were like, hey, your Redacted thing just went live. And I was like, oh, crap. So make sure you guys watch the Redacted thing. Take clips of it if you want to. Spread it around. Get the word out. Okay. We're going to go for like 5 more minutes here, guys. Thank you very much. Donut Earth isn't flat. Great interview on Redacted. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, we can also destroy our own sun with this. So, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not scared of nuclear war. I'm not scared of meteorites or asteroids hitting us because we can just wipe them out. And holographic principle is absolutely the answer. And this is what connects to flat Earth. Is a lot of people think that the holographic principle can prove flat Earth. Maybe. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm not going to tell you guys what I don't know. I'm just going to tell you guys what I do know. And even though this is a lot of information, doesn't mean I know everything. So a lot of people want to send me something like, what do you think about this? You must know about this. Not really. I know about MH370. That's about it. What do you think about, what's this one? Yeah, so even like stuff like this is, I don't know, man. I don't know about the blue light stuff, other crafts out there. But if we have stuff like this, we have stuff like, I think most of the UFOs people see are either us, China, or Russia. China and Russia have figured this out. If I figured this science out in 6 months, Russia and China probably figured it out decades ago. The real question is, how far advanced have the orbs become? You know, we've been able to put the radar scaling interferometry into orbs. That's pretty damn advanced. Having an anti-gravitational orb itself is pretty advanced. That's where it's like, how far does this actually go? CERN, I think, is intentionally being sabotaged so that they don't discover anything. CERN, I think, actually proved a lot of the science that we've been talking about, including the extra dimension. I talked about that. Avi Loeb made a statement about that. I think this proves the science real, and I think they're suppressing it because the discoveries from CERN will prove it to be real. And the problem is, once people figure that out and figure out there's an extra dimension, they're going to figure out that Tesla was right, and then everything, the whole Pandora's box opens up. So this is why I think they have to be very careful about the information that gets out scientifically. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate you. Yeah, we talked about the triangle thing. You can go back and watch where I talked about that. I'm going to try to skip through these as fast as I can. Any other questions? Yeah, you are brainwashed to choose a side. The other thing I want to mention about this as well is that I think a lot of the social issues we face and a lot of the stuff that's out there to divide us is literally just to prevent us from thinking about the science. The more we're at each other's throats, the more we're talking about which bathroom people use and how many genders there are and what your pronouns are, the less we're talking about science that could change the world. The less people are looking in to the science that could change the world. I think that's really a manufactured distraction. And the thing is, that stuff is compelling. It's drama, and people love drama. That's the stuff that people are drawn to. People aren't drawn to the science. And that's why it's so easy to distract us from the stuff that really matters. What bathroom or who people have sex with, I don't give a shit about that. Have sex with whoever the hell you want. What I care about is the technology that'll change the whole world. Yes, Tesla warned us about the Philadelphia experiment. Absolutely. I think that Tesla was right. I think this goes all the way back to Tesla. I think that he knew way, way far in advance about what was possible. And I think he even got discredited because it was just so far beyond the paradigm. Even in 2024, it's so far beyond the paradigm. Light triangle in the sky. I don't think there's a light triangle in the sky. Somebody actually speculated today that the cold zap might actually cause ice, literal ice, to form from the condensation in the atmosphere. And remember that little hole that shows up in the satellite video? That might be ice shooting through a hole in the cloud. Interesting. That's a new little theory that we just figured out today. Okay. Dan Winters, I think Dan Winters on the science side is good, but he's one of those people that's trying to connect every single thing, and it's just too much. I think that if Dan Winters took it piece by piece, he would have he would get more progress moving forward. I'm more of just the hard sciences. I don't need to connect all of consciousness and everything else together. Yeah, Tom Montauk looks like he maybe reversed his aging as well. He looks like he's in his 20s. I think he's like 40 something. So we can ask him about that. We'll ask if Tom Montauk reversed age himself. What do you think creates gravity? I think that quantum gravity is probably the most likely explanation regarding gravity at this point, but I think there's some interesting theories out there about it just being like pressure between the ether and reality, if you want to think of it like that. I don't really know exactly, but I do know we can manipulate gravity, and I know we can create gravitons. I just don't know if gravitons is like a real thing or if it's more something like dark matter where it's a property that we just give a name to. The pyramid stuff is interesting. I think that we could absolutely have had past civilizations. I think we could have destroyed ourselves several times over. I think we could have come from Mars and destroyed ourselves. So there's still a lot of really big, amazing questions. Even if these videos are real, even if we go into Star Trek, there's still amazing questions left to be discovered. What are your thoughts on being canceled on the Joe Rogan show? I think Joe Rogan is going to regret canceling me more than any other guest he's ever had in his whole life, because these videos are real. The science is real. He's never talked to anybody that could talk to him about the science in the way that I would be able to talk to him about the science. And I don't think he's ever had anybody that's come to him with a conspiracy that has as much evidence behind it as this one does. So my opinion is that one day I think I probably will talk to Joe Rogan. If anybody out there knows him, you should probably have him watch this. And you should probably also have him watch my interview with Redacted, because this is not bullshit. This is the true story of what happened to the plane. I will take on any expert from the MH370 investigation, any official from the investigation. I will take on any official from the government, and I will also take on any scientist out there at all, no matter what their credentials are. Physicist, engineer, any of them that you want. That's how confident I am in the science checking out. I also think that Joe Rogan's an amazing guy. I do think he's the best podcaster out there. I don't think he's disinformation. I think there's a lot of people out there that think people are controlled opposition, disinformation. I think there's a lot less of that than we think that's out there. But I do think that people get told what to think, and by people who have machinations or bad intentions or ulterior motives, I guess is the way to put it. So again, I would be very skeptical about a lot of the people in the UFO community as well, in terms of what their goals are and what they're trying to accomplish. My opinion on, like, let's say Jeremy Corbell, for example, is that I think that Jeremy Corbell, from everything I've seen from him, I like to think that he has good intentions, but I think he's too committed to the idea that it has to be aliens out there, that everything is explained by aliens. And so when someone doesn't present something that's not aliens related, he thinks it must be bullshit, because he thinks that technology can't happen unless it's aliens. And I've proven here today that this technology exists, and it's scientifically accurate to what humans have figured out. And the other evidence for why I think he thinks this is because he went on, and he's on the record saying that Commander Fravor was told that the Tic Tac was Lockheed Martin technology, and he thought that was bullshit, because he thought there was no way that Lockheed Martin could have figured out this technology. There is. They have. Coherent matter wave beam. They've figured it out over 10 years ago. That patent's from 2013. And they probably had figured it out way before that patent anyway. So that's where I think that the point is that people have their own biases, and they can't get past those biases. That's the big issue with the UFO community. Probably need a one world government. I am not a WEF supporter or the one world government stuff in general. I don't think that would solve the problem either way. Look at like ISIS and terrorist organizations. The problem with free energy is it just takes one person to blow up the whole planet. That's the problem. Now it's not even like a government that you have to create nuclear technology. Jake Chansley, I think, had the best answer. Big shout out to America Shaman on Twitter. Jake Chansley, also known as the Q Shaman from January 6th. He's actually a super nice guy. He's actually not at all what the media portrayed him to be. He said that we would put in laws and safety nets in place where people would not be able to produce this type of technology without us finding it. And we can actually do that. We can create gravitational wave detectors that can detect if people are messing around with gravity waves in their garage and creating this type of doomsday technology. And that's probably what we have to do. I know it sounds invasive into people's privacy, but it's better than us destroying the whole planet. Let's see what else we got. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. There's a very interesting theory about manipulation of warp technology. When you don't know, it's just a weapon. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. This stuff is a weapon for sure. Trying to get to a lot more. Oh, do you think most of the advanced technology was taken from World War II Germany? I think there's a very good possibility that actually the Nazis really had an idea about anti-gravitational technology. And that's why we and the Russians took a lot of their scientists as well. And I think the Russians potentially got further ahead of us during the Cold War, and that we only caught up after the fall of the Soviet Union. And then we leapfrogged them, especially when quantum computers and advanced computers came out. I think that's just when it pushed it to magical technology. Because as I said, to move those orbs around, I think you need a quantum computer or some kind of very advanced supercomputer. The plasma string thing, I think it's probably nothing, but it's pretty weird that there's been like several videos of that blue stringy thing going into the water or whatever. Pretty bizarre. Answer your questions on how warp teleportation and the physics of this. Yeah, I already did answer that early on. You can watch the beginning of it. I explained it. It's pinned to my profile right now. It's macroscopic phase conjugation. It's very similar to optical phase conjugation, but phase conjugation can use any type of wave. And in this case, we're using a gravity wave. And when you use a gravity wave, it creates scalar interferometry 0-point zone. You have a fourth orb shooting a beam at the zone, and then the plane will go back to where the fourth orb is located. Pretty incredible stuff. I didn't know it existed, but it does. But yeah, you can again watch the beginning of the stream. I go over that right at the beginning. Also, this is not a distraction from anything in UFOlogy. This never was. If anything, it was giving them everything on a silver platter. It's kind of sad that they just ignored it, honestly. Yeah, I do think that some of this science came from Tesla, absolutely. And I think that people probably forgot it. Sarfati is such a Chad. Yeah, I got to edit that podcast and put it on my podcast list for you guys and make it available on audio as well. So I'm going to be very busy over the next few days going through a lot of this stuff. Yeah, my pronouns are also bullshit intolerant. Whoops. I don't know if there's converging timelines or if we are in a deterministic one. I think that the big question still is, what is time, and can we send information into the past, or can future information affect the present is probably a better way to put it. I would say that you should look at the show Dark, and you should look at the movie Tenet. The idea that you move in reverse, but time is flowing forward. That's what I think is the best explanation for how this is possible from a physics perspective. Let's see. And I'm sorry if I can't get to all the questions, guys. We've got almost 4,300 people in here, so I'm doing my best. I don't know if you guys are talking to each other in the chat and some of these questions. Someone says they're working on Rogan. Awesome. Oh, CERN, sir. Yeah, I mean CERN is the particle accelerators, guys. They're shooting are they shooting protons at each other? I think that they're shooting protons. And then they're having the particles scatter. This is how we found the Higgs field, which to me proves that there is an extra dimension. But you know, to each your own. But in order for any of this to make sense, you really need an extra dimension. I need the investigation on that plane was what? The redacted blew my mind. Yeah, thanks for looking into Tripoli. I don't think Corbell is CIA. I just think that he's just biased, guys. It is kind of weird that Joe Rogan hinges all of his UFO stuff on Jeremy Corbell, a guy that didn't even know what a superconductor was. He went on a show, he said supercapacitors. Capacitor is a completely different thing than a conductor. It's pretty important, especially when you're talking about how a UFO can float. Anyway. Is the podcast redacted? Yeah, the redacted one. Go to my Twitter profile, guys. That one up there, that one. And it's like the second one down on my profile. You guys can find the link to the redacted. You can also just go to their YouTube page and search redacted. It's the most recent one. It's probably got several tens of thousands of views right now. What if time is fractal? I mean, there's a possibility that there are different timelines as well. It's possible the Mandela effect is real. I don't really know the total nature of time. This is where I've been still, I'm not going to say argue, but let's say debating. This is why I talked to Jack Sarfati about retrocausality. This is why I've been talking to Dave Rossi in private messages about, can we really manipulate the past or not? I'm not 100% convinced all that. I don't think it's necessary for this type of science. And it's like, how would you even know? And my argument on the time thing is, if I can manipulate the past, then I would argue that I will have figured out how to create a time travel device in the future, and I would have manipulated my past to make myself super rich. But maybe I realized that I never did that, and therefore I never do that in the future. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like kind of a paradox. We can never really figure out the answer. Was there a fourth orb? There's no fourth orb, I don't think, in the MH370 videos. I know there's just some weird thing that kind of shoots up that somebody found when they did a very detailed analysis, but I don't think that's the fourth orb, no. I think that they are teleporting this plane much further away than somewhere very close by. I think it's got to be going at least hundreds of miles away. What proof do we have that there was a fire aboard the plane? We have eyewitness testimony seeing smoke. We have eyewitness testimony seeing the plane start on fire. We have a plane glowing orange. We have a mayday call of the plane disintegrating. And then we have 2 videos showing smoke coming out of the back of the plane, which cannot be contrails because the plane is at too low of an altitude. So in my opinion, there's a lot of almost irrefutable amount of evidence that there was a fire. As much as I appreciate this, guys, there's so many people that want to send me stuff. Somebody wants me to go meet up with them because they claim to have secret information in like another state. I'm not doing any of that. Just for the record, guys, I'm not meeting up with random people that I don't know. You can understand why I wouldn't do that at this point, right? I'm way too paranoid to do that. I don't even want to get on an airplane. I'm definitely not meeting up with random strangers on the internet. So if you have information to tell me, you can post it in the public. There's nothing that you're going to say that is so secretive that it can't be posted on the internet. In fact, that's a safer way to get the information out there to protect yourself. So just post it on the internet. Tag me in it if you want me to see it. It's just not to be rude, but I've got, as you can tell, a lot of stuff going on and a real full-time job still. Kurt Metzger is actually pretty awesome, guys. I didn't even know who he was, but he went to bat for us on the MH370 videos. Seems like a really nice guy. Would like to meet him at some point as well. Pretty cool. Yeah. Jeremy Corbell might as well have said flux capacitor on the on his Joe Rogan appearance. Like, that's the part where it's like, how is nobody looking into the science? I would challenge the UFO community. If you want to prove there's UFOs and aliens, the first thing you should do is prove that the science is possible. A lot of these people have this idea, well, if it's alien technology, it's just unknowable. The aliens, if they exist, live in the same reality we live in. They still have to apply by the same laws of physics. That's like, there should be your first thing, is that if aliens exist, they must have figured out. This is why Thomas Townsend Brown was so smart. He supposedly saw UFOs and went, I'm going to figure out how that works. Smart guy. That's how the UFO community should operate. Oh boy, where are we going to all be by 2030? I have no idea. I can't see the future, guys. I hope that we figure this out. I hope we get disclosure. I hope this information becomes public. But Apophis is supposed to come and hit us in like 2029. 2029? Yeah. And people are like, oh, it's only a 2% chance, and NASA ruled it out. Guys, if you believe NASA is telling you the truth, yikes. Don't trust a single thing NASA says. Now, I'm not afraid of Apophis because we can just hit it with some orbs, and especially by 2029, we will definitely be able to hit it with our directed energy weapons. So I'm not afraid of that, but I don't know where we're going to be in 2030. Okay. Oh, I think that the time dilation effect, that the plane appeared like right away. I don't think this plane went to the 10 years in the future. We're not dealing with a manifest situation. It's not going to appear later on. We had witnesses that saw it that next morning in the Maldives, and they saw MH370. So this did not, if it went to the future, it only went at most a few hours into the future. It didn't go like 10 years in the future or anything like that. Yeah, I'm not too worried about glowies, guys. And also, just for the record, if anything were to happen to me, I just want you to know I have no regrets. This was all worth it. The people that I've met have changed my life, and all for the better. And the people and the family that I've made in MH370X are some of the nicest, most awesome people that I've ever run into. And the reason why I'm disseminating all this information and have made this whole investigation public from the very beginning is because if anything did happen to me, then somebody else can just pick up the reins. People think that, oh, you're so smart. Anybody can do this, guys. Anybody can. Just dedicate yourself to it. I just did it because it's going to be hard to silence me. You can't really manipulate me with threats or anything like that. If you came after my dog, I would just go full John Wick on everybody out there. But other than that, like, there's not much to threaten me with. So I was just in the good position to be the person that would try to get this information out there. But if they were to do anything to me, like 10 people would rise up and everybody would know this stuff's real, because there's no reason to silence me if any of this is fake. So that's just the reality of that stuff. But I appreciate the people that are worried for me. I do appreciate you. And I don't live in fear at all. I mean, I don't want to get on an airplane, but that has more to do with lithium-ion batteries and planes falling apart. every single day, it seems like, than it does being orbed. They'd have to take out a whole plane full of people. Now, I'm not going to get on a private jet. There's no way I'm getting on a private jet. But when you go on a commercial plane, they got to take out a whole plane full of people. I mean, they'll do it, but it'll be very obvious if they do. Yeah, Randall Carlson, I believe the thunderstorm generator is legit. I have inside information as to why I think that is as well. You can follow Alchemial Science, Jordan, on Twitter or on YouTube, and he goes over the thunderstorm generator a lot. I mean, this is basically proving cold fusion is possible. So this is actually just as big as the stuff that I've been talking about, honestly. The whole world's going to change. We're going to have free energy. We're going to have the power of the sun in the palm of your hand. The future, we have the most incredible future ahead of us. We have the most incredible future. That's a quote from Bob Greenier. Okay. Actually, I haven't had any weird dreams recently, although I've been dreaming about poker a lot for some reason. I'm not really sure. I think all the passengers are probably dead except for maybe a few, and that kind of explains why the family's moved on, why the nephew was told that his uncle was collateral damage. That's the one people that I haven't thanked yet, or apologized to or what have you, is whether or not people will see this now or in the future. I want the families of the victims to know I am sorry for what happened to your family. The reason why this was covered up is because they couldn't tell the truth. It was too big. It might have implications of the entire planet being destroyed. That's how big it is. That's the reason why they had to let you believe a lie, even though you all knew it was a lie. You knew somebody took this plane. You knew it wasn't a suicidal pilot. You knew the plane didn't crash in the South Indian Ocean, because these people were looking at the evidence just like I've been looking at the evidence. Not people just listening to the media, but looking at the evidence themselves. They knew they were being lied to. And I'm sorry we did that to you. I don't know if the government will ever tell you that, but I'm sorry. And when you find out that this is the truth, even though it's almost impossible to believe, the people that you should go after, number one, is the United States government. They're definitely the ones who are involved in lying. Probably the UK government, the Australian government, Malaysian government, all the Five Eyes that are out there. And then the other people you should go after are all the debunkers. You should go after the Corridor crew. You should take every single dime that the Corridor crew has. They have 6 million followers on YouTube. You should take every single penny they have. And I will help you take it, because they've been lying about the videos. As well as potentially a lot of the debunkers that are linked to them. You should go after Jonas DeRoe, who pushed a fake debunk video on YouTube after 1 hour after receiving an anonymous email, trying to make people think the videos are fake, even though I tried to tell him about the evidence for why there can't be a 2D cloud picture in the videos. He didn't listen to me. You should take everything Jonas DeRoe has. You should take every single thing Mick West has and everybody affiliated with Mick West and the skeptics. You should also sue the Skeptical Inquirer. And take every single penny that all of these people have. They deserve to have their lives ruined and to have every single penny taken from them, and it should go to the families of the victims. So those are the people you guys should go after if you're the family members, and I will help you in any of those court cases. I have a mountain of evidence. I've saved all the stuff that those people have done and all the lies that they posted about the videos, and I warned them a long time ago there's no excuses. I told them months and months and months and months ago, do not lie about these videos. 239 people disappeared. This is not like debunking a UFO video. You're debunking a true conspiracy of what happened to 239 people. So again, to the debunkers that are out there, and I'm sure that people are having full meltdowns right now, even while they're listening to this. If you are somebody who's been trying to lie about these videos and lie about me, you are a terrible human being. And not only should you stop, you should also apologize and retract your false statements, because you've been lying and hurting the families. The very thing that you claim that I was doing, you were doing the whole time. Got to be tough to hear that. Okay. The Antarctica podcast, that one I think is only available on Twitter with the Investigate Earth. That was a pretty good one. We talked with Dave. That one had a lot of viewers as well. You can probably find it on Investigate Earth's Twitter profile or mine, but I don't think that one got converted to audio. I'm not 100% sure. Thank you, Alt Protestant. Appreciate you guys. And okay, so I think we talked about, oh yeah, and also you should go after Boeing as well. Go after Boeing. Take everything Boeing has as well. You can probably also sue Lockheed Martin and Raytheon as well. It's a little bit harder to prove for them, but the United States government for sure. The United States government has unlimited pocketbook as well, so they're probably the first people we should go after. Okay. Whew. Let me see what else we got. Yeah, after hearing the recent news, we're so doomed. I mean, Maybe. Guys, again, we have either Star Trek in our future or we have Fallout in our future. It's up to us to decide. It's up to us to decide. End of the world, Star Trek. It's up to humans to decide. You know, that's the smartest UFO people I've talked to. That's what they say. They say that it's up to us to decide what the fate of is for us. If any of the passengers were alive, I think they were probably put into witness protection and could never talk to the people that they knew before. Scary, huh? I think that they most likely died from toxic fumes related to the plastics being on fire or the lithium-ion batteries being on fire. Or they would have died from the depressurization of the plane of the pilot trying to get the fire out while trying to keep people alive. Pretty dark. And then they also could have possibly died from the macroscopic phase conjugation event. No matter how you look at it, it's pretty messed up, man. I think that even if the family's case was thrown out, this new evidence will allow it to come back. I'm pretty sure. But even from a civil standpoint, they can sue a lot of these other people anyway. I mean, that's the way of America anyway, sue all the people that wronged you, right? Okay. I think that's it. I'm looking for any last questions here before we close down. Defecting to China, I think that's the most likely scenario. Yeah. Probably defecting China. There's also a slight argument. I mean, you could maybe like 1% chance say that China was causing this with their orbs or Russia, but based on the circumstantial evidence and the fact that we were filming it and the way the drone was following the plane, this was us. This was us. Yeah. Oh, Rolls-Royce as well. Sue Rolls-Royce as well. There's a lot of people to sue out there, man. Rolls-Royce definitely knew that this was falsified because they have the telemetry data related to their engines they never released to the public. And they knew that this plane didn't go to South Indian Ocean. They got covered up by the government. This goes to show how easy it is to cover stuff up. United States government controlled like 5 different countries and like 3 or 4 or more different private companies as well, including Inmarsat, which faked the satellite pings. Like it's crazy. It's crazy, actually. Like the one thing about the debunkers is they're like, if you believe this kind of conspiracy is possible, then you're going to believe a lot of other conspiracies. Yeah, correct. The United States government will lie on a global scale and control a lot of people and make them lie too. Welcome to the real world, man. It's not all peaches and rainbows out there. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions out there. What will happen next? I can't see the future, guys, and I don't know. I think that we will continue to talk about it, and everybody who's here knows the truth. And I probably will end up doing more podcasts. People probably want to talk to me. A lot of people want to talk to me about the science now as well. And we'll keep talking about that. And I think that's probably how we'll end for tonight. So if you guys have any thoughts about how we force the government to admit this, any other avenues that we can follow, let me know. Follow me on my Twitter. Give me your thoughts on my Twitter as well. I appreciate, again, everybody who's been here. Oh, also Lex Friedman. Would love to talk to Lex Friedman for sure. I was kind of doing a meme where I was pretending to be in love with him. I think he's a really introspective guy. Yeah, and Annie Jacobson talked about the Cyber system as well. It's funny when people talk about the Cyber system. I'm like, dude, I probably know more about the Cyber system than anybody. Anybody that's not in the military, at least, because of how much we were able to deduce just from these videos. And yeah, the academic science community is probably just as bad as the UFO community. They have this encrusted belief that they can only believe. Like a lot of these people are just science influencers. They're not even real scientists. That's the funny part. They get their PhDs and then they make everybody bow down to them and they don't do any ever experiments. A lot of them don't even read scientific papers. That's the funny part. And they just believe whatever they get told on TV, and then they go out and they espouse it and pretend like they're super smart and that everybody should listen to them. I mean, like Eric Weinstein didn't even understand the implications of room temperature superconductivity. He thought it was just magic. I'm like, well, obviously he hasn't read any of the papers about it or looked at any of the videos. Otherwise, he would realize it's not magic. So it's kind of embarrassing for Eric Weinstein, to be honest with you. If Eric Weinstein wants to debate me, anytime you want, buddy, anytime you want, I will be prepared. Hopefully you will be as well. I mean, I'm just calling out everybody, man. All the scientists, all the debunkers, all the UFO community, everyone. I did talk to Danny Sheehan. You know what? A weird story about Danny Sheehan. He's on record talking about somebody teleporting a Coke bottle from one room to the other room. And I had a private conversation with him for like 15 minutes over the phone. Someone put me in touch with him. And I told him they teleported the plane. And he seemed like kind of dismissive or incredulous about it. How can somebody who's literally heard a story about teleporting a Coke can not be interested in 2 videos showing us macroscopic phase conjugation warping the plane? Again, guys, be careful who you trust and who you believe out there. A lot of these people are just, they either have their own mindset for what the phenomenon means, or they are just not open-minded enough to see reality. And almost none of them understand the science. Almost none of them do. Like 0.1% of the disclosure advocates out there have any idea about the science and how the science works. And they have no interest in understanding it either. They just want to be told. They just want to be told how it works, which is pretty sad. Yeah, I think that a lot of these people, the podcasters too, like they do what other people tell them. And that's the sad part. This is how they get manipulated. Like Joe Rogan was talking to Lex Friedman about CIA people manipulating them. Yeah, they're being manipulated. They're being manipulated. They don't even realize it. They got manipulated when they thought that the videos were fake. Same with Sean Ryan. I'm 99.9% sure that Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, and Sean Ryan all think that those can't be real, and they're all wrong. And the irony is that they were manipulated into thinking the videos were fake, not the other way around. So when those people wonder how they get manipulated by the government and the CIA, they already did. I'm a real dude who can actually explain how the science works to them. Real science. Not just, oh, I've got this story to tell you. Nope, I can actually explain how macroscopic phase conjugation works. We've got 2 videos showing it happen to the plane, consistent with 14 pages of evidence that presents a story that nobody else before us had presented. How does it get better than that? Okay, I think that's probably, we're going to set any other last questions. Oh, Ashley Burnitz. This lady is pretty interesting. She posted these videos like a year ago. I don't know if she has any inside info. She also made a Netflix trailer that included some of my work. I like you, Ashley. I like you. I don't know what you're all about. Okay, I think that's pretty good, guys. Okay, so I'm going to play us out, guys. First of all, I want to thank everybody else out here for tonight, or last of all. We have 4,500 people in this stream. That's by far more than I've ever had. Pretty incredible. So again, check out my YouTube and Twitter handles up here. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on YouTube. Let's make this thing go viral. Let's make people accept the truth. Macroscopic phase conjugation is real. Governments do lie to us, and we know what they did to MH370. Thank you guys for being here with me tonight. I'm going to play you out with this video that I made called Dark Aria. If you don't like the music, well, too bad. This is for the families.
The last sliver of hope vanished in an instant. Malaysia's Prime Minister announced today that Flight 370 went down in the Indian Ocean and all 239 people on board are dead.
Most of the circumstantial evidence, I believe, points towards an abduction of this plane. I don't know why, and I don't know by who, but I'm convinced that that plane was taken